Afternoon, everyone. I call the June 21st, 2020 closed session meeting to order. Madam City Clerk, would you be kind enough as to give the public instructions on how to participate?
Mayor Jung. Mayor Pro Tem Whitaker. I'm doing roll and you want me to read the announcement first. Sorry.
Here.
Someone's whispering
Whoa.
in my ear. And we'll do Councilmember Zara.
Here.
Okay, and then I'll do the announcement. Sorry about that. I got them out of order. Public can access the live meetings on Spectrum and our cable government channels. There's limited seating available for the public here in council chambers. And the public may address council in person or virtually on Zoom. The Zoom ID number is 978-4219-1797. To call in, you can go to 1-669-900-9128 or go to Zoom US/join.
We'll now hear public comments on closed session items. Seeing none in chambers, we'll go to Zoom. Madam City Clerk, anyone on Zoom wishing to comment?
Nothing on Zoom.
All right, very well. We will recess then to closed session. Thank you, everyone. Good evening. I call the June 21, 2020 meeting to order. Madam City Clerk, would you be kind enough as to read the instructions to the public on how to participate?
Thank you, Mayor. Tonight's meeting is available to the public in person or online or on our government cable channels. If you are joining by Zoom to make public comment, you can go to zoom.us/join or call 1-669-900-9128. The meeting ID is 978-4219-1797, and more instructions are available on the agenda.
Thank you. Madam City Clerk, would you kindly call the roll?
Mayor Jung,
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Whitaker,
Here.
Councilmember Dunlap,
Here.
Councilmember Silva,
Here.
and Councilmember Zara.
Here.
This evening, our invocation will be given by Mr. Christian Esteban, Hoyt Scholars Executive Director. Sir, good evening.
Mayor, I want to apologize. Christian had a family emergency and asked if I would step in for him. So if you will, would you pray with me?
Thank you.
Heavenly Father, we ask your blessing on the people who have been called to lead the city where we live, work, go to school, and rest. Help these leaders to hear the needs and concerns of the citizens they were elected to represent. Remind all who speak in these chambers tonight that we don't want to be lumped in with so much of what is called politics today. Remind each person here tonight that we are not only leaders but also servants, and that it's our responsibility to serve for the common good. Remind us all that no matter where we live, who we are, or what we believe, we are neighbors. Help us remember that we've been called to respect and protect the least of those among us, our children, the elderly, the poor, those who are hungry, those who have no homes, those who are ill in body, mind, or spirit, the strangers and the immigrants in our midst, those who live on the margins, and those who are alone and those who are forgotten. Grant our city council and our city leaders the wisdom and courage to know and do what is right and good and true. May they and we speak out when it is time to speak and listen when it is time to listen. May they and we all be guided by the spirit of community, by the spirit of justice, and by a spirit of love. This we pray in the name of all we hold sacred and holy, all that we hold good and right and true. Amen. Thank you.
Before you leave, please allow us to give you a proper introduction, sir. So introduce yourself and we'll welcome you accordingly.
Thank you, Mayor. My name is John Schaefer. I'm on staff at Fullerton Free Church. I serve there in a role called Shepherd of Staff Care. So I'm sort of like a staff chaplain. It's also my privilege to serve the Fullerton Police Department as a chaplain there.
And you and I have spoken via email, and you
You have
do great
been
work, sir.
the most. I'm in your district, so in fairness to everybody else, but I don't know a councilman who is as responsive to either phone calls or emails. You've been great.
I certainly appreciate that. Thank you for your kind words this evening. Thank you. I'm going to ask Councilman Silva to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, if everyone would be kind enough as to stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilman. I'm going to call on our city attorney. Mr. City Attorney, do you have any closed session reports, sir?
There's no report this evening, sir.
Very well. We will get back to our dais here. Any members of council have any ex parte communications to report? Seeing none, we'll move on to our first presentation of the evening. I'm going to ask Mr. Pete Barron to come up and make a presentation for the Fullerton City Scholastic Chess Champions. Is he here? All right, we'll move on to the next presentation. This is my honor to introduce Chairwoman Gloria Gray. She is chair of the Metropolitan Water District and a woman of color in that agency that has revolutionized how things are done, provided equity and equality to an organization that is one of the oldest. And in terms of how we view our current world without the Met, I'd question it very highly. So we are honored to have her in chambers this evening. This is a treat for me. Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for that kind introduction, and good evening to everyone, to the City Council and to the staff and to the residents of the city of Fullerton. It is an honor to be here this evening. I've received an invitation when Mayor Jung became a Metropolitan Board member to come and visit his city, and so I wanted to make sure I did that. So I thank you for the invitation. Not only is it an honor to be here, but also it's an honor to serve with Mayor Jung on the Metropolitan Board. He truly is a strong advocate for the interests of this city, its residents, and its businesses. So thank you for your leadership on the board and for your engagement. Thank you very much, Mayor Jung. One of the things that I want to just briefly kind of talk about is collaboration, and Mayor Jung knows that collaboration is a word I use a lot when I do speak before the board, because I think it's very important, and certainly Metropolitan has a collaborative relationship with this city. And I want to also thank the city manager for meeting with me this afternoon and learning about your beautiful city and all the wonderful things that you're doing. And I want to thank your Public Works Director for meeting with me this afternoon. And obviously, we talked about water issues and some of the challenges that you are facing. And one thing that I've learned from one of the staff members here is that Metropolitan certainly plays a key role in partnering with the city to address some of your challenges. And I know you do have some water challenges, as we all do here, in the industry. And so I just want everyone to know that we are here, Metropolitan is here as your partner, and Mayor Jung has been a strong, as I said, advocate for the interests of this city. You know, the collaboration has been a watchword of my leadership role at Metropolitan. At my home agency, the West Basin Municipal Water District, I actually was elected to that board, and throughout my career in public service. It's a value that I share with your mayor as we work to address issues like our current drought, a change in climate, water supply reliability, protecting the quality and affordability of our water, and planning for the future. These are formidable challenges, but Fullerton's leaders have always had a clear line of sight to do what is necessary, what is possible, and what is needed to achieve those goals for your community. Again, thank you for the invitation. I've learned that the words I just spoke is true, because you are meeting your challenge with the kind of insight and forward thinking and innovative ideas to come to solutions. So thank you again, Mayor. I'm sorry I can't stay for your entire deliberation, But I look forward to coming back. And again, we are partners, the City of Fullerton and Metropolitan. Anything that we can do to be of assistance, please let us know. Thank you very much.
Well, Chair, we are remarkably blessed and terrifically fortunate. It's an honor to have you in our chambers this evening. I will let our council members comment accordingly. Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, sir.
Yes, thank you for paying us a visit this evening. We're most honored by that. Of course, Fullerton's special in a couple other respects with MWD. We were one of the original 13 members.
That's right.
And so we have a special warm place at MWD. And also your general manager, Adele,
Right.
is a Fullerton resident as well.
Right. He sends his greetings. He was at another meeting tonight, but he sends his greeting. You're absolutely right. You're one of the 13 founding members, so thank you for having that foresight to form Metropolitan. And Adele is our new general manager and doing a great job.
And for working with us at Orange County Water District, often to help us recharge our aquifer.
Right.
So we appreciate all the cooperation that we've received over the years.
Thank you very much for saying that.
Councilman Silva, any comments or?
I just, again, thanks to the chairwoman for making the trek out here to Orange County, and I appreciate all the work you're doing up at MIT. I know it's a huge organization, and it takes quite a person to manage that, so thank you for doing that.
Thank you very much for your comment. Thank you.
And Chairwoman, we do have a council member on Zoom. Councilmember Dunlap, any comments, sir?
No, nothing to add, but welcome to Fullerton.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Councilman Zora.
Yeah, just thank you very much, Chairwoman, for being here. I don't know if any other former chairs had visited our city, so this is very encouraging, and we look forward to more collaboration. I know you have a very good partner in our Director of Public Works as well,
Right.
so thank you.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you very much, and thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Jong and
Thank you.
council. Thank you.
We are going to take a few things out of order, if you don't mind, this evening. A regular business item, number 19, Korean War Memorial item. We are going to take that up next. The Fullerton City Council, we're going to recognize Mr. Dongwoo Joseph Jo Bak for his work on the Korean Memorial at Hillcrest Park, and request to name Mr. Bak as the city's ombudsman for the Korean War Memorial. We're going to recognize Mr. Bak accordingly, but in the meantime, I'd like to call Director Loya to make a presentation accordingly if she's available. If she is not, is there anyone else scheduled to make the presentation? If not, we will go to, yes, sir.
She's planning on making a presentation. She may not have realized you were going to move it up to the front of the agenda, so let me see if I can find her real quick.
Sure. While we're doing that, we'll take public comments on this item. Are there any members of the public that wish to comment? Seeing none in chambers, we'll go to Zoom.
No hands raised in Zoom.
Very well. Oh, Ms. Milton, good evening. That you, Director Loya appears.
May I use this one?
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir. You're so much easier. I want to thank you for allowing me to speak. Good evening, everyone. Maureen Milton, 54-year resident of the city. And what I'm asking, and also asking of you, Mayor, is what is needed at the Korean Memorial, or right close to it, is a bus stop. Right now, we don't have the tourism traffic like we used to before COVID, but people from Anaheim that don't have transportation but would know about it eventually will be able to take a bus up and transfer at the transportation center, and because the 143 swings right by the memorial, because I pass it going home at night. So if you could arrange, or the committee could start working for a bus stop. I know it takes a long time, but I think it might help people to come and enjoy the memorial. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Loya.
Thank you for waiting for me. Hi, good morning. Good afternoon, Mayor Jung, council members. Tonight, we're going to present a certificate to Joe Pack. Sorry, I ran up here. To Joe Pack, who is the key leader of the Orange County Korean War Memorial Committee that paid for and installed the memorial at Hillcrest Park. Since the Korean War Memorial was installed at Hillcrest Park by the Orange County Korean War Memorial Committee, I got to catch my breath from running. Sorry about that. Earlier this year, it has become a very popular venue for veterans, families of veterans, and the Korean American community. For that reason, city staff is asking for assistance from the committee, from Mr. Joe Pack, to act as the ombudsman to help us with all of these requests. Sorry. For assistance with events. So I would like to introduce to you Joe Pack, and I think you have a certificate, and if you want to handle that part, be more than happy. Thank you.
Yeah.
And my colleague over there, Eddie.
Well, you should speak, but in the meantime,
Thank you, Mayor.
감사합니다.
Thank you very
너무
much.
수고 많이
Yeah,
해요.
thank you. Thank you, Honorable Mayor and councilors, Mayor Pro Tem and council members and outstanding staff. I really appreciate it. As I was thinking about coming here today, I look up some of the old pictures, and this one is the very first time that I approached the city of Fullerton in 2013, and back then, Mayor Pro Tem was a mayor of a city of. He's the first one, and he asked me to go talk to two people. Number one, Jennifer Fitzgerald, and then Commander Marilyn Harris, because we need to get a support from the American Legion Fullerton Post 142nd to make this happen. And lately, I've been busy because people all over the country has been contacting me to ask me to take a picture of their loved ones, their grandparents, grandfathers, named on the 5 stars on the Korean War Memorial. And I've been going there at least 3 times a day in the morning, during the lunchtime. I get a good exercise out of it. And in the evening on the way home, and taking these pictures and then sending it to them. So Fullerton is really on the map all over United States. And they are really, really appreciative of their loved ones being recognized for their sacrifice, for giving their all for freedom and democracy for South Korea and for all of us. And in the Memorial Day, and it is very evident that we had a Memorial Day event led by Commander Harris, and also this Saturday we are going to recognize the 36,591 American soldiers who gave their all during the Korean War at the Dog Pond Korean War Memorial. And even today, there was a visitors from Korea. Those are the yodel singing visitors, and they sang Arirang at the Korean War Memorial today at 11 a.m. And it's becoming, as Alice Loya just mentioned, it's becoming very, very famous and a well-known visiting spot for Korean Americans, Koreans coming from Korea. And actually, Commander Harris has prepared this disc of all the pictures that began from the day one of the construction of the monument until the unveiling ceremony, so that when I go to Korea in August, I'll make sure this is being presented to key people, important people, so they know how we work with the city of Fullerton and all the communities in the city to make this historical, the first in the United States to recognize entire American soldiers killed in action, 36,591. There isn't anywhere in the United States. Right now, they are working on it in the Washington, D.C., but we beat them, I think, by about a year. So I really appreciate this recognition, and I take this not lightly. And I know that, Henry Ford said, coming together is beginning. Staying together is progress, and working together is success. I think that we'll work together for success, for win-win-win. Thank you so much.
Thank you. There is some official business that we have to do with regards to this. I would seek a motion from council.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you. A second? Very well. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Dunlap.
Aye.
Councilmember Silva.
Yes.
Councilmember Zara.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Whitaker.
Aye.
Mayor Jung.
Aye.
Passes unanimously.
Mr. Mayor, may I?
Yes, sir.
Joe, it was a long, difficult war for both America and for South Korea. And this monument was a long time coming. And so I want to congratulate you on this day for your very dedicated work for these many years on the longest day of the year here in the Fullerton City Council. So thank you so much, and congratulations to you on your accomplishments.
Councilman Silva, anything, sir?
Yes, if I just thought of something, when I visited Korea, I was amazed and surprised of how many of the Korean people were aware of the war and knew more about it than I think, that I ever learned about it in school. And they were all very appreciative and overwhelmingly gracious to the Americans, to the soldiers that were there at that time, and to us. So I can imagine that it is very popular with the Korean residents, because they do seem to know, acknowledge, and are very grateful for what these men did. So thank you.
Councilman Czar? Absolutely.
Yeah, Joe, just wanted to thank you very much for all the work that you have done. You not only have honored those who had sacrificed that were never recognized before, and that is a huge accomplishment. But thank you for putting Fullerton on the map for something that is so dignified and wonderful. And I'm so grateful and honored to be a part of it. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, could I say one more thing?
All right.
Well, I was going to go out, but then I saw Chairman Chafee over here, and I think he was mayor right after Mayor Pro Tem Whitaker. And he's the one actually who signed the MOU right here, this spot. And he went to Korea to present that MOU to our sister city, Yongin, and he really had a red carpet treatment. He went to the state National Assembly, and he was greeted by the chairman of the National Assembly. And I just wanted to say that it all began with Mayor Pro Tem Whitaker, but down the line, everybody. Back then, Mayor Silva, and now it's not closing, but it's getting to the nice transition to Mayor Fred Chung. And so I truly appreciate everybody who's got their hands in this. And I think everybody, including Fullerton residents, this is a teamwork, and it is really teamwork. Assemblywoman Sharon Cook Silva, who I've been working for ever since she got elected to the State Assembly in 2012 November, and she's been a really big supporter of this Korean War Memorial, and so I know I'm leaving out a lot of people's name, but this is not just individual work. This is a teamwork. This is a Korean, not Korean or anything, but it is an American, United States teamwork. Thank you so much again.
Councilmember Dunlap, anything, sir?
No, sir, nothing to add.
Understood. Thank you again. 박사장 감사합니다. We will now move on to public comments. If there are members of the public that wish to comment on non-agendized items, please go ahead and step over to the microphone on my right, your left. And hopefully you've registered with the office, and we'll get started. Sir.
Hi.
Good evening.
Hi, everyone. Congratulations, Joe. Council, I just wanted to quickly take the opportunity to invite you and the rest of the community to our summer safety event happening this Saturday morning in Buena Park at the LCFA Fire Station. If you like fire trucks or summer safety, this is the event for you. Find me if you want more information. I'd be happy to give you some, okay? Thanks.
Thank you.
And then, Mr. Mayor, when will we announce the continuance of items? Should we? All right. Just.
Ms. Milton, good evening again. And then we'll go to Mr. Cho.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to speak on three things. One of the things is there any way when an item is pulled in advance that is not going to be handled on the agenda, if that can be posted on the door so people don't have to wait until the actual item is called? Can that be posted on the entrance to City Hall? I'd like to see people stay for the entire meeting, but sometimes they don't have the time. And the other thing is the sign that you have that says you're closed on Friday. You used to have two of them, one for the back door and one for the front door. Can the front door be put on? Because if you're passing by on a bus, you can see that sign, that great big sign on a bus saying closed Friday. The other thing is for you, Mr. Mayor. How long have you been on the OCTA board? How many meetings have you been to? Can you tell me that?
Of course, I'm happy to do that. About 2 weeks, 4 meetings.
Oh, 4 meetings, 2 weeks? I'll give you maybe at least 2 months to get into it. And then we have to talk.
Very well. I'll look forward to it.
And so, anyway, I will let you get settled into the fray.
Grateful.
So,
thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you. Next comment, please.
Hello, my name is Bernard, and I am a Fullerton resident. Mr. Jung, you placed yourself now on so many committees and boards, yet we hardly hear of any updates. It seems there's no focus and more for you to show off and make personal deals and favors, like your favor to Mike Posey, council member from Huntington Beach, who sits with you on the OC Power Authority Board. He has a private library business, and you offered him a presentation to possibly privatize our library. Of course, you didn't get away with it, and you even tried to backtrack when you were exposed. Bottom line is, even though it was a failure, it was a favor. Yet, we we've not actually heard anything about your business on the Power Authority at all. While the media is reporting major transparency and even corruption issues, it seems wherever you are, corruption becomes an issue. We've already seen this with your relationship with developer Tony Bushala and your continued attempts to benefit him because he spent tens of thousands to get you elected. That's the epitome of corruption. Now it seems your position on the OC Power Authority is to give favors and benefits to other board members rather than protecting the taxpayers. What else are you hiding? You need to be investigated. This is not normal and fully disgraceful. 아니, 어떻게 어린이라는 사람이 애들처럼 생각 없이 거짓말을 막 하고 창피한 거 하나도 몰라. Go Bruins.
The translation would be, I'm a liar. Is that close? I thought, yeah. Next comment. Mr. Gamble, good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council. My name is Curtis Gamble, activist for the homeless and the veterans. This evening, I would like to share with you my thoughts on the Fullerton homeless and veterans funding via the Cash App card. The Cash App card is a free customizable Visa debit card which allows the Fullerton homeless and veterans to pay for goods and services such as rent, apartments, hotel rooms, car vehicle homes, RV, recreation vehicles, homes, ADUs, accessory dwelling unit homes, tiny shelter homes, shipping container homes, Airbnb homes, parking spaces homes, OCTA bus shelter homes, and the safe parking programs. This Cash App card can also be used anywhere. Visa is accepted, both online and in stores. The Cash App card for homeless and veterans can send, so veterans can send and receive funding directly from family, friends, the city, or the Hope Center in Fullerton. At the Fullerton City Council meeting on June the 7th, 2022, the city received, on behalf of the homeless and veterans, $1,758,520 in SB2 funding, in which the city must provide rapid rehousing, rental assistance, navigation centers, emergency shelter, transitional housing for our homeless and veterans via housing vouchers or the Cash App card itself. The city of Fullerton has already received more than $10 million this year on behalf of the homeless and veterans that would allow them to lease one of the 4 Goodman's Logistics Center buildings. Building number 4 is located in the city of Fullerton, SB2 Industrial by right overlay zone for emergency shelters. This building is about 178,000 square feet and is currently available for lease. The building will lease for around $360,000 a month, which comes out to about $4.3 million a year. The building could easily have up to 1,000 beds for Orange County homeless and veterans, for veterans community. Okay, I'll skip down. The Goodman Group and Prologix are 2 major billion-dollar companies that buys large warehouses in our communities. Many of these properties are former military bases, shopping centers, aerospace properties. It is true what the Goodman Group and the Prologix company both usually are should I say always prefer to lease to the Amazon corporations. The Amazon corporation have an excellent history of working with the homeless community.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very
Next
much.
comment.
Hello, my name is Kurt Johnston. I'd like to talk about a safety issue. The walkway up Harbor Boulevard to St. Jude Hospital, there's no existing sidewalk. Last city council meeting, I heard some talk about money set aside for public safety that was put into the stoplight management fund or whatever. I think maybe some of the safety money could be used for improving the lighting there and extending the sidewalk. Since I mentioned this last time, there has been a fatality there. Someone was walking down on the street where there's no sidewalk. It was hit by an OCTA bus in the southbound lane. So I'd also like to have a follow-up on the water, the drinking fountain. The city manager offered to check into that. I noticed that one of the drinking fountains at the train station has been turned on, but there's two there that are still turned off inside the train station on the east side by the elevator, and also the marketplace. Sometimes someone might have a need for some water. Maybe they got something in their eye or got something on their hand. And it's nice to have some running public water. I mean, some running water in our drinking fountains. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no further comments in chambers, any in Zoom?
We do have one hand raised in Zoom.
Please.
Jane Reifer, you should be able to unmute.
Great. Thank you so much. And good evening, Mayor and council members. I'm assuming I can be heard. I wanted to ask about public comments that have been submitted by email or in person at Planning Commission meetings. I know I've submitted things at several different meetings, and they don't appear on the supplemental materials for the Planning Commission. And I would love to see those from other people who have submitted things, and also sometimes presentations aren't quite ready before a meeting. And so those would usually go in the supplemental materials. But I'd like to make a request that backup be done for supplemental materials, at least for this year. Some of them are pretty relevant, and the public should be able to take a look. And also the person who submitted them should be able to see that their comments were submitted for the record. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing some more comments in chambers, we'll go back to chambers for comments if there are any. None? All right. Yes.
Hi, good evening, Mayor, Councilman. I'm Cynthia Gill Santillan. I would request some clarification on the public hearing for the Pines at Sunrise Village. There seems to be some confusion on the understanding of the process.
We will clarify that for you
Yeah.
when we get to the item.
Great.
If
So
that's all right.
we were informed that the comment is only available right now during public comment, and we would like clarification about the public hearing if public comment will be allowed then.
We'll give that to you through the city attorney. All right.
Okay.
Give me 1 second. Seeing no more comments in chambers, we'll bring this back to council. Oh, I'm sorry.
Mr. Mayor, if I may just, I just want to understand, I think the question was if this item is continued, would they still be able to comment on this in public comment?
I understood the question. We'll have the city attorney advise us on that.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, how long are we waiting for that answer?
Right now.
Okay,
Just
I'll listen
give
to
us
the
some.
answer and then
Thank
I'll
you.
speak.
Thank you. So right now, we're going to move an item and let you know.
You didn't understand. I thought you were going to answer the question,
We
and then I would.
have to call the item first.
Okay. So do I speak first, or do I wait?
Is this about the item? Then please wait until the item is brought up. Otherwise, if you have a separate item, please feel free to speak.
Okay, it depends on the answer, what the item is, but okay.
Okay.
I'll wait.
Very good.
Did you want to speak?
There are two items on our.
Thank you very much,
Yes,
the
go ahead.
leadership of Fullerton, the council members. It's my first time to speak here. My name is Evans Wodarek. Originally, I come from Africa. I've been here for almost 8 years. What made me to speak in the public forum the other day, I was in Orange County, is that America is a very good country, but it only has one disease, which if the political leadership can address, because I've fallen a victim of it. The court system is rotten to the core with racism. The judges are using two items under the Civil Procedure Code. Civil Procedure Code is a very, if you studied law, is a very, very junior law in respect of substantive provisions of the constitutional requirements. Judges use what they call summary judgment there to deny you fair trial. They dismiss the case either against you or in favor of the other party. And another thing they do is they refuse recusal. I came to know in America, in UK, if you recuse a judge, once it has portrayed any semblance of prejudice, he has no duty to preside over the case. In America, the judge can refuse and go ahead with the case. The reason why I'm speaking about this, for I find that the political leadership, is high time they should address this matter, because if you do research, you find this law was made in 18th century. By that time, America was still with too much issues of slavery and racism. It needs to be addressed because America, in 1965, by the President Lyndon Johnson, signed an international convention called the Elimination to Eradicate All Forms of Eradication. And this document was ratified pursuant to Constitution Article 2, Chapter 2 of about the powers of the Senate to become part of the U.S. law under the federal law. So that thing, and if you read Article 2, Article 1, it emphasized that judges and political leaders must ensure that they eradicate racism in all its forms. I came to learn the American court system is still embedded in racism. You hear police, you hear everything. The core is the court. If the court system is corrupt and rotten, the society has issues because all issues reach at the back of the court. That's my appeal. If the political leadership can take initiative to do something about eradicating racism in the court system. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. All right, seeing no more comments in chambers for public comments, we will move on to the business at hand. On the consent calendar, number 1, on the consent calendar, number 11, about the Hunt Library, that is being continued to a later time. So that will not be on calendar this evening.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I had discussed with the city manager earlier that I wanted to make a statement involving the Hunt Branch Library, and he indicated that now would be the time.
Sir, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, you're welcome to do that, sir.
For those who will be interested in that item when it does appear at our next meeting, those who are supporters of the Hunt Branch Library, the historic building, is really being violated very severely and has been for some time. It was popular for a while back, broken window theory, and the cause being that if you allow things to go unimpeded, that you're going to have big problems. It will get worse and worse and worse. And right now, I am sad to report that over an 18-month period or so, the Hunt Branch building has been savagely attacked with much damage, much expensive, almost irreplaceable damage being done. It's still occurring now. I went by prior to our meeting, and I think I've spied even a few new areas of vandalism, extreme vandalism. And so the broken window theory is not a new idea. It's been very effective where it's been employed, but it appears to be out of vogue in our city. And I'd just like to do what I can to send out a word to all those who care about the Hunt Branch building and that property, which is a city asset. It appears to be orphaned right now, and we really do need to get a handle on securing and protecting that property. I did have a number of photos that I was going to share, but it didn't make it here in time. So I will ask to append that to our minutes, perhaps, or electronic record of some sort, because I really wanted to illustrate the state of the building right now. But the building remains at risk, and I just wanted to get that message out. Thank you.
So noted,
Yeah.
sir.
And
Absolutely.
And Mr. Mayor, if I may, also on that topic.
Councilman, absolutely.
Yeah, and just similar to what Mayor Pro Tem said, we've got to get the building up and running and services provided. So I know we're continuing the item, but I would like to at least continue it to no later than the first August meeting, and maybe before that, because the longer we delay this, the more damage that building's going to get, the longer it's going to take to fix. So in the process of continuing it, can we continue it to a date no later than the first meeting in August?
Councilman Silva, I think everybody's amenable to that, so we'll move forward with that in mind.
Very good, thank you.
So staff has direction accordingly, sir. And then to the public that's here, with respect to their time, number 16 on the regular schedule is Pines at Sunrise Village. That has been continued at the request of the applicant, which is their right to do so. And the city attorney, we're going to ask him to give you advice on what comments could be made today and where we move forward with this.
Yes,
Sir.
the matter is set for public hearing. The applicant has made a request to continue the public hearing. However, the applicant does not have the unilateral right to continue it. It does require council approval. So it comes before the body this evening for possible continuation. Staff is not opposed to that continuation, given it's the first time of a request by the applicant to make a continuance. And our tradition has been for applicants of real estate project development projects to allow them one continuance oftentimes. However, that's purely within the discretion of the city council. This evening, we would not be conducting a public hearing, but instead would be entertaining a motion to continue the public hearing to a date and time certain. With respect to comments this evening, those comments this evening would not be related to the substantive nature of the project, but rather could speak to the question of the continuance. And if the public wishes to speak to the question of the continuance, you could take those public comments at this time.
Very well. So if any members of the public wish to comment with regards to the continuance of the item, please feel free to line up to my right, your left, to the microphone.
Question before clarification. So you're saying that because we're going to continue this item and it's not going to be on there, the public can't speak on it in general, even though the item's not going to be discussed tonight?
Correct, because we have not opened the public hearing. If we continue the item and the public hearing is not open, their opportunity to speak is during the public hearing. So the only item before the body initially would be the question of continuing the public hearing. If the council elected not to continue the public hearing, the mayor would then open the public hearing, and we would hear from the public regarding the substantive issue. But if we're just continuing it to a new date and time certain, the public's limited role this evening is to speak to the question of the continuance.
But if this item was not on the agenda today, the public can come in and speak on it, right? Because it's during public comment?
They could speak during public.
Right, so because...
But they need to, I guess a caveat has to be made, and that is, it is not deemed to be evidence. The public hearing is a very unique part of the law, and with respect to the process, if they were to make a comment during public comments about the project, that's not deemed part of the record, is not considered in your deliberations. So therefore, they would deny themselves the opportunity to put their public comments into the record as part of the public hearing process.
But they can come back when it comes back to a public hearing and speak again.
They could, and they could, again, we've already closed public comments, but with respect to the question of on this item, what they can say this evening, it'd be limited to the question of, do we want to continue or not continue it? If they want to speak against continuance, they could do so. It becomes the council's discretion whether to grant or not grant that continuance. However, with respect to their comments this evening, unless we open the public hearing for evidence, their comments would not be part of the record.
So it's just confusing that because we're not going to have an item on there, then during regular public comments, the people cannot speak on it. That seems...
No, they could
wrong.
have, with respect to the public comment section, they could have made a comment, but it would not have been part of the record. And so,
right, and but they can come back when it comes back to a public hearing and make that part of the record.
That is correct.
So right now, if the audience out there wishes to speak to that item, because we're going to continue it, then they're free to speak to whatever they want on that, right?
On this, we've called item 16. The only thing before you at this point in time is the question of continuance. If you deny that motion, then you could speak to it. But there's no...
Okay.
limited at this point in time to the question of continuance.
Let's move forward with public comments on this matter.
Yeah, but I think the audience is getting shortchanged here because if we were to take it up right now and continue it, it would disappear from our agenda. And then if we were to open general public comments again, could they speak on it then?
Councilmember Silva, if you feel that the audience is being shortchanged, then deny the continuance and we'll hear the matter. I mean, it's a fairly simple, it's a fairly simple equal sign, sir.
It's very simple that we continue it now and open up public comments again.
We
and
are
they can speak on
following
it.
the protocol advised by the city attorney, and I would
Well,
really...
but it's our will. I mean, we
So
moved
again,
item
if you
18
don't,
early.
if you don't wish to continue the item, vote against it, sir.
No,
And then we'll
I
move-
want to
we'll
continue
move-
it, but I also
Okay.
want the audience to have a say. They've shown up here. They're here. Why deny them the right to speak?
Mr. City Manager, go ahead, sir.
I'll just point out one thing. If you were to continue the item, and if you open the public hearing, which you could open the public hearing now, then that would mean if people spoke, they would not be able to come back and speak again on the item. And if there's any changes that happen through that continuance, they would then have already spoken and you wouldn't have the ability. So there is a problem with opening the public hearing right now.
Well, I don't want to open the public hearing. I want to continue this and then open up public comments again, general public comments. Is that the same thing what you're saying?
I was talking about the legal public hearing part, which would be part of the evidence.
If you wish to reopen public comments, you'd have to make a motion to the chair and ask the public comments to be reopened.
Okay, and then we could do that, whatever we decide. All right. I guess
All right, very
I'm
well.
not getting over it,
If
but,
there's
all right.
members of the public that wish to make a public comment on this item, and then the continuance or non-continuance of it, please go ahead and do so.
I am shaking. I'm so upset. I've been coming to these meetings over and over again. My husband is sick. He's been in the hospital. He is dealing with treatments. I should be at home with him. But because I feel that I am so unsure about what you will decide, and I feel unrepresented, I have to keep coming. And now I come tonight, and I've made special arrangements, and you're saying that without a 24-hour notice, you decided to have a continuance, or you're sounds like that's what you've decided. I just think that once again, it proves that there is a lack of integrity in the process of involving some of the residents. And I think it's really interesting that the developer who doesn't even live here has the opportunity for a continuance, but us who live here have such limited say. And I'm really sorry that I'm falling apart, but you are assuming that we have time to just run down here whenever you decide it's the right time to talk about it. And then we have 3 minutes to make our comments, and they have to be specifically about this at this time. So we wait here until midnight so we can speak. Yes, I am frustrated.
Thank you. Next comment, please.
Council members, Mayor, I have spent hours on this project. I have had conversations, meetings with all of you. It's very disappointing how this process is turning out. There are many people here that have taken time out of their work, are spending time away from their families, losing money by not being at work, and so they expected a public hearing. Mayor Jung, you, Carol, our community group, and Mr. O'Malley, we met on Friday. There was no intention by the applicant to continue this. So I don't know if something happened over the weekend or yesterday's holiday. We feel it's extremely inappropriate for this to be continued. The public sees this as a ploy to silence us, to interfere with this process. We have members from the Korean Federation, elders, students, business owners. It's not easy for them just to drop everything on a dime and then, be canceled on. So I urge you, council, to vote no on a continuance and let the public hearing go forward as planned, as published. The staff has invested a lot of time and money, taxpayer money, in getting the notices out, postage, what's the explanation? We would love to hear what the reason is for the continuance, because as of last Friday, there was no reason. The developer, the owner, said that was their best plan forward. So what has changed in such a short amount of time that would require a continuance of this item? So we hope that you listen to the public, to the people that you represent, that elected you, that are invested in this community, and give us an opportunity to have this public hearing that we have planned and invested time in. Thank you.
Thank you. Next comment, please.
Curtis Gamble, activist for the homeless and veterans. Mr. Mayor, City Council. I just want to say thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak on this item. I did notice that we are having problems with speaking when people come up here to speak. The young man that just a minute ago that was up here. I had to kind of run around to get him an opportunity to speak because you held your head down as though you didn't see him. So the ladies are right. You know, we can all see what you're doing. And then not only are you doing wrong, you want us to act like we don't know any better. But we do. We know everything. You know, and thank you, Mr. Silva, for straightening that out. Those two ladies that was here, they were standing here before me with public comments.
Sir, is this a comment on continuing the item or not? You need to reference just that and that alone, sir.
You are acting just like the Anaheim mayor, okay? Okay?
You
The
can-
Anaheim
you
mayor
can-
that they kicked out of
You
office.
can accuse me of whatever you'd like,
I'm
but
not
I'd like you
accusing
to
you.
stick to the topic matter of continuing the item or not.
Okay, okay. I would like to finish. Okay, anyway, I'd like to finish my 3 minutes. What do you want me to talk about? Say it again.
The item is continuing this item or not. That's where the public comment needs to be, sir, and you're not making public comment that way, and I'm not going to allow you to hijack public comment for your own objectives, sir. Stick to the
Okay.
topic matter at hand, and we'll allow for the public comment accordingly.
I would like to continue the item, and I would like to pour item 6 and item 10 also. And again, thank you, Mr. Silva, for what you just did for the public. And we have to do right. We don't want to be like Anaheim. You know, we like you, Mr. Mayor. So don't make us be like Anaheim, please.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next comment.
Yes, I'd like to, my name is Teresa Lim. I'd like to address the, for you to deny the continuance of the Pines project. And basically, this plan that they have proposed has not changed since October 2021 when it first was presented. So what does 1 month give them? Nothing. There's no advantage at all to grant them extra 1 month from when you had the plans already basically the same since October of 2021. So please deny this continuance and let us address to you what our comments are. Thank you.
Thank you. Next comment, please. Ms. Edmondson, good evening.
I'm Carol Edmonston. Forgive me, I just got in here and very confused by this timing of everything now. I want to ask you not to agree to a continuance, but I do want clarification. If you grant a continuance, does that mean we, the public, are not allowed to share what we have spent time preparing to address the issue?
During the public hearing process, you would.
We'll have the city attorney answer that question for you.
So, when the matter is properly before the council, if it is continued and brought back, when the mayor says we're now opening the public hearing, at that point in time, you would come forward and offer your comments. That becomes part of the official record, should we ever get into litigation or whatever it may be. You're creating the evidence by your comments during the public hearing.
So we still can have the opportunity?
Absolutely. The council cannot be denied the opportunity to a public hearing. The question is, when will that occur? It was scheduled for this evening. It may still, depends on what they do. But whenever that public hearing occurs, it'll be opened up and you can speak to the council.
But if they grant the continuance,
The public hearing will be continued until the next meeting.
and then we do not have that opportunity tonight?
As far as the public hearing goes, you're correct. Because there is no public hearing.
This came to us in the very, very last minute, in the 11th hour, that the developer is requesting a continuance, and we ask that you not honor that. It is ridiculous. For all the time we have spent with them, they have not offered to budge one iota. We met and saw him, Mr. O'Malley, on Friday, and as of 5 o'clock on Friday, they still were wanting to keep the proposal as presented to you. So all of a sudden, it's Monday at late in the afternoon, or Tuesday late in the afternoon, whatever day this is, and we're finding that out today. I think it's very unfair to the public. We have spent countless hours and efforts getting a community together, and I think it's just a big PR ploy to really wear down the community so we just disperse and we don't come back in July. Thank you.
Thank you. Next comment, please.
I may be, Catherine, I may be redundant to Ms. Edmonston, but I would like you to consider the number of man-hours that your constituency has put into dealing with this project and ferreting out the details and the position of the developer. And for this entity to come in at this point, I think you should consider what kind of level of respect this developer is demonstrating to your community. Are we the low-hanging fruit that can be picked at will? I don't think we will want to have that reputation for the next project and the project after that. Hundreds of man-hours of your citizens, and price those out, that is also the price of this continuance. Respectfully, thank you.
Thank you. Next comment, please.
Hi, I would like to speak on the continuance of this matter. I went to the Planning Commission meeting where this item was discussed. It had gone to the City Council, and then it had bounced back to the Planning Commission with hopefully some changes so they could pass it. But it got passed, but it was stated very clearly that the changes weren't really that noticeable, but it passed anyway. So then when it comes up here and it's continued, it maybe the public awareness is that it's a way to kind of wear people down, because I've seen this happen before on our property down there on Basque, how a lot of the neighbors were upset about the homeless issue, and by the time this development finally passed on Basque, there was none of the residents were here. They're just worn out. So I think maybe people have a need to know where this is going, why it's bouncing back and forth between commissions and now being postponed. It just feels a little bit disconcerting. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comments in chambers? Seeing none, we'll move on to Zoom.
I have one
Madam City Clerk.
one hand raised in Zoom. Jane Reifer, you should be okay to unmute.
Yes, hello again. I apologize in advance, but now that the hunt item is being continued, I think it's important to pull item 9 from the consent calendar, if that can be done, because that talks about security for including the Hunt Branch Library. So, and also I might mention that it would probably be helpful to the public if we can hear ahead of public comment which items are thinking of being continued, and also which an opportunity for us to weigh in about the consent items that we might like to have a council
Ms.
member
Reifer,
pull.
respectfully, I have to ask you to stick to the continuance and the non-continuance of this. Obviously, in hindsight,
Mayor.
it's a grievous error on my part not to ask for public comment on this matter or announcing to the public beforehand that these two items are being continued.
It's
Go
not
ahead.
a grievous
Please
error.
continue.
We appreciate you're very process-oriented, and we appreciate that. And thank you for considering this. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Yes.
Hi,
Good
my
evening.
name is Linda Tassi, and I just think this is really interesting that the developer Shop-Off is the major supporter of the Day of Music. This has been going on in our city for so many years, and it's always been just Fullerton companies and educators sponsoring the program, and here they are, the major people. And they're not here tonight to talk about what they want to do to our city. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comments in chambers? All right, very well. We'll bring this back to council. I'll seek a motion or we'll discuss the item.
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Mr. Councilman Zara, go ahead, sir.
I think, is there, I see Mr. O'Malley here, and I would love to invite him up just to get a little bit of an explanation for the public. I think they deserve to know a little bit of the reason why this is being continued.
We'll allow for that. Go ahead, sir. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council, staff. We are continuing our outreach. We have a few more ideas that we want to analyze and research and underwrite. We've gotten some good input, not only from opponents, but as well as proponents of this application. And we just want to see if they're worth moving forward with. So we needed some time to do so. It's not an uncommon request whatsoever. So it's positive.
All right. Any more comments or questions?
No, I think that's it. I think this probably we should have led with that, and I do apologize for the public. I know this is a passionate issue for so many people. Regardless of where everyone stands on the issue, I think having a fair hearing and allowing people to say what they think is important, but also notifying them in advance. So I'm a little dismayed by the process, and we apologize, but I do believe that you are acting in good faith. I hope that there'll be more outreach and communication with the public.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you for those comments. Before we move on to any other members of our council, this process, in terms of this evening, is, while I appreciate Councilman Zara apologizing on our behalf, is my fault and mine alone. I chair this meeting. So if the process does not seem right to you, that is my fault, my burden. So I will carry that. We are subject to considering the advice of our council, the recommendations and information provided by our staff and our city manager, and we as a body act accordingly. So that said, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, any comments, sir?
Yes, it wasn't my doing, so I don't feel a need to apologize. However, I have a lot of experience in this arena. I was an activist long before I was a staffer for other electeds and long before I was a council member. And while I hear what you're saying and I understand the injury, my fear is that you would be shooting yourself in the foot if we were to vote against the continuance tonight. You know, a hearing, almost like in a courtroom, it's two sides. Both sides need to be ready. Both sides need to present their case, and it goes into the record. We make a determination based upon that. If we were to change that system now after we've already had a false start, you would be, in my opinion, at a severe disadvantage, and the entire process would be even more flawed. So I hear what you're saying. I've been in your shoes before, but what you're looking for is a remedy would probably worsen the situation in numerous ways. And so I have to take that into consideration on whether I want to support a continuance or not.
Very well, sir. Councilman Silva.
No, yes, and I do want to apologize for, like I said, maybe in hindsight, we should have had this item first thing up out of the gate so we would deal with this. But no, and the Mayor Pro Tem is right. We want to hear both sides. We want to get as much information as possible from both sides so then we can decide. So having said that, I'll move for continuance of the item.
Very well. Councilmember Dunlap.
There'll be a motion to a date and time, sir.
All right. Was that the July 19th? So I move to continue the item to July 19th.
At
meeting.
5:30 p.m.?
At 5:30 p.m.
Councilmember Dunlap, any comments, sir?
You know, I would just add, look, it is frustrating because I know those of us who have taken the time to meet with members of the community that have outlined and shared their concerns and their frustrations and tried to, hopefully voice and effectuate some of those changes with Shopov with respect to their plans. It is frustrating to spend the time outside of council meetings and, off hours to take those meetings and then to have, ultimately now knowing that, hey, there will likely be changes that will incur, additional time and additional meetings to answer some of those questions. So I do think it's frustrating and it's unfortunate, but as the property owner, they do have that right to continue. Perhaps it would have been ideal for them to do that ahead of the agenda being posted on Thursday so that it didn't inconvenience us and so many members of the community. But, I share some of the sentiments that Mayor Pro Tem Whitaker outlined with respect to their right to, to continue this item. And so I'll support the continuance this evening, but I'd expect that it's heard July 19th and not a date or a time later.
Very well. Is that a second, sir?
Yeah, I'll second.
All right, very well. If there's no further discussion, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Dunlap.
Aye.
Councilmember Silva.
Yes.
Councilmember Zara.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Whitaker.
Aye.
Mayor Jung.
Aye.
Passes unanimously.
We do. Please.
자, 그래서 이제 금방 그 투표한 거에 대해서 잠깐 한국말로 요약을 해드리겠습니다. 지금 현재 프로퍼리 주인이 이 청문회를 연기하자라는 것에 대해서 연기를 하자고 했고, 그거에 대해서 각각의 카운슬맨 그리고 시장님이 보트를 하였는데, 그 결과 만장일치로 이 공청회를 7월 19일 5시 30분으로 옮기는 것으로 결정이 되었습니다.
All right. We are going to move on to council reports, staff communications. Mr. City Manager, is there anything to communicate, sir?
Mr. Mayor and City Council members, I just want to let you know that we are putting Orange County Power Authority on the City Council agenda for July 5th in response to issues that have been going out in public and have been in the public. So I want to make you aware of that. I will follow up and check on the 2 water fountains that still are not working. I'm not sure if they're just inoperable or not, but I will check on that. And with that, I will turn it back to the mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Silva, anything to report, sir?
Yeah, well, first of all, one more question to the city manager. The comment from Ms. Reifer about the supplemental materials and the emails not being included. Can we look at that, see if we can do that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Councilmember Silva, Mayor Zhang, City Council members, yes, we can look at that. I've done a process in the past where if it goes to the entire City Council, this correspondence, then we put it as a supplemental, and we can look at putting that process in place here.
All right, thank you. And then a couple more things. I turn it off. I know we're not having the 4th of July festivities this year for a lot of reasons, but and one of the reasons is we can't seem to find a location for it. So correct me if I'm wrong, but did we not have fireworks during New Year's, the New Year first night celebration? Have we had those up at the parking structure, right? Alice?
Now that I've caught my breath, I can speak.
Yeah.
Yes, during first night, when we have the fireworks, it's a different kind of fireworks show. It's low. So when we have a fireworks show on 4th of July, it's very high. So when you have a high fireworks show, you have to have a wider perimeter of a fallout zone for safety reasons. So the fireworks show during first night is very low, so the fallout zone is the street.
Yeah. Well, great, because I want to see if we can look at maybe next year holding the 4th of July festivities at the plaza with low fireworks, given that we can't find a location big enough to hold the traditional fireworks show. I know we've been looking, but we're running out of places unless Cal State Fullerton steps up and allows us to use the stadium and the baseball field, which we, the taxpayers, pay for that through redevelopment funds. So in essence, it's our stadium, but that's another story. So I'd like to maybe, if you can look into that. And then another item that I want to address now is that I know we all got some emails about I guess the trash and maybe some encampments showing up at under the underpass on Caltrans property. And I know there's another idea, but my idea, or I'd like to see if we can, without putting it on an agenda, can we instruct the city manager, if we're allowed to send a weekly email to Caltrans asking them to clean up under their property and CC our legislators so they're aware that we are asking Caltrans to clean up their property. Now, do we need to agendize that, or can we direct the city manager to do that?
Mr. City Manager, go ahead.
Mr. Mayor and City Council members, I can actually do that. I've done that in similar situations. I don't think I need direction to do that.
Okay.
And I can do that.
Yeah, so I'd like a weekly email with photos, and then again, CC our legislators so they're aware we're doing that. And Mr. Mayor, that's it for right now. Thank you.
Very good. Councilman Zara.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to just on that same topic. I'd like to see if we can agendize an item that could possibly be a solution to some of the off ramps and the Caltrans areas. Some cities, what they do is they've used the Adopt a Highway program to be able to gain jurisdiction over those areas and allow for either cleanups or enforcements of the no camping ordinances and so on, and have access to some of the folks that are there. So I'd like to see if we can bring back an item to council to maybe look at what other cities have done in that particular area, and if we can actually do the same thing. I know Anaheim has started that, so maybe we can partner with them on something as well. Some of the off ramps and Caltrans areas that are joined between us. So I'd like to agendize this item if I can get a second from one of my
Well, I
colleagues.
certainly support that, and
Yeah.
staff now has direction, sir.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much.
You bet.
The other thing I'd like to ask for is I know that talking about memorials, war memorials in our city. I know Hillcrest Park has a very also historic war memorial inside it, but it keeps getting trashed, and I'd like us to take a little bit more care of it and really give it the respect that it needs. I know we have a lot of maintenance issues and park cleanup issues, but I think this is a very, in my opinion, sacred memorial. So I'd love for us to pay a little extra attention to it. And lastly, I'd like to just say I hope you get a chance to visit the museum. There's a new exhibit, and it's all about local arts and local artists. So I attended the opening night, and it was just absolutely wonderful. And I'm amazed by the talent that we have in our city, and I hope we can encourage it and support the museum and support our local artists. So please do visit that. And if you don't want to sit here any longer than this, I hope we can wrap up soon enough, because the museum is open tonight with the Day of Music. So I hope we can get a chance to see some of that action as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Dunlap, any comments, sir, or reports?
No report this evening.
Very well, sir. And then Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Day of Music in Fullerton. First day of summer, the summer solstice. Generally a very joyous day. 'Tis a pity that it lands on a council night this year. But I do want to wish all of you a very happy time this summer, and this is the official kickoff. It's a little bit warm for my tastes at the moment, but there will be more to come. So that's the only thing I have this evening, is regrets that tonight's the night for the council meeting.
Thank you, sir. Well, hopefully with our agenda shortened a little bit, we can all enjoy what you just discussed. Folks, we are in an extreme drought. The conditions are extraordinarily dire as we wrestle with everything from how to provide clean, affordable, and reliable water to our residents, to how to make up the slow elimination of hydroelectric power in our state, which will increase costs for all of us. It's important to continue to conserve, make every effort to reimagine what our static landscaping should look like, what our parks should look like, what our school fronts, what our homes. There's a term in the political arena called the flying monkey. And what it is flying monkeys are used to gaslight, open aggression to political elected officials, guilt trip in order to make another person feel bad or worse, maybe even weak, whilst effectively it's a narcissistic tool. And for any of us elected here to do our job correctly and serve you, our beloved residents, who we dedicate our time and effort to, these flying monkeys are not only a deterrent, but are incredibly distracting and negative. So I want to make sure that the folks that come in here and advocate on behalf of the community, do it in a manner that's not only respectful of our time, but respectful of your own time. And that said, I do recommend that everybody attend this evening's Day of Music, and hopefully we can get you all out of here in a timely manner so you can experience that wonderful event in our city. With that said, we do
Mayor?
have appointment to make.
Mayor Jung, sorry to
Yes.
interrupt. The chess champions are here.
Oh,
Whenever you'd like to go back to that
wonderful.
presentation.
Let's do that now. Excuse me, Councilman Zora. We'll go to our chess champions. So the 2022 Fullerton City Scholastic Chess Champions, is this Mr. Pete Barron? Mr. Barron,
Yes,
good
sir.
evening, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor, council members. I apologize for the last 14 of these presentations. The council met at 6:30. So I brought all the kids to make sure everybody showed up in time at 6:10. That turned out to be about 40 minutes too late. So I appreciate having a chance to break in here and get on the agenda. Okay, could you put some? Okay, I'd like to present the results of the 2022 Fullerton City Chess Championship, which are the champions. So I'm the speaker. I represent the Fullerton Hose Lines, which has been sponsoring this tournament for the last 15 years. Next, please. Okay, I just have a couple of slides to give you a little background. One is we started back in 2000 and continued all the way to 2018 when we reduced the level. And of course, the last couple of years we've had COVID, so nothing much happened. During that time, during those 18 years, we had weekly chess clubs at somewhere anywhere from 5 to 8 schools. We had monthly workshops. The weekly workshops were usually limited to grades 3 to 8, whereas the monthly workshops covered grades K through 8. And I guess all told, we also sponsored tournaments, workshops, and altogether 5,000 plus hours of volunteer effort. I'd like to mention that a lot of folks here, when I mention chess, they all say, "Oh, you're chess masters." Well, Chess Masters is a very excellent program, and I'll point out later that they've had a beneficial effect on chess in the few years where we haven't done any, Lines haven't done any chess activity. But they're a commercial program where people pay $70 for 7 sessions, and the kids get that much. We used to hold weekly meetings, 40 meetings a week at some schools, for no pay at all. Okay, in any case, we're starting up after a 2-year hiatus, and I do want to make sure that the Fullerton School District is recognized for the effort that they have put forth and the facilities they provide and the publicity they provide and have done so over the years. And in particular, I want to thank Hilda Sugarman, who's been very, very active in promoting chess. Next, please. Okay, the 2022 tournament was held at May 13. There's actually a second second tournament which took place on the 8th of June because high schoolers and most of the high schoolers are not available on May 13. We've had more participants than ever, thanks for Peach Jar, which the Fullerton School District used to advertise the tournament. But notice that if you look at the Hall of Fame, which I will show on the slides in just a minute, hard to read, as you will see. There are only three kids this year who participated in previous tournaments, whereas in past years you always had a continuation of students from year to year. In any case, chess players are getting younger all the time. More than almost half the players are third grade and under. At 13 third graders And we actually had to have 2 flights because there is too many to hold one tournament. And then, of course, we had a separate tournament for the Super Champs, which are U.S. Chess Federation rated players in the high school tournament. The Fullerton City Scholastic Champion is the winner of that Super Champ tournament. His name is Owen Tang, and he's having a great time at camp, but he's not here tonight. But I'll have a nice picture of him. Okay, next, please. Okay, so this is a Hall of Fame that you can see if you go to our website. It shows the first, second, and third place finishers in every grade. And by the way, each of these tournaments is really anywhere from 8 to 10 little sub-tournaments for each grade. And so these are recorded over the years. You notice that there was a break in 2021 for obvious reasons, COVID. And as I say, if you look at the color as they move along, with each player represented by a different color, there are very few colors on the 2022 chart indicating the break in continuity. Okay, next please. The 2022 version, which is the blown-up version of the 2022 chart, which shows some of the individuals. Next please. Okay, now we have the kindergarten champ. So Harvey Sim, come on up here. I don't know, Mayor, how do you want to handle this? Are you going to be... Mayor, in years past, Mayor always passed out the certificates to students. Do you want to do that this year?
I'm happy to do that, sir.
Okay.
In fact, if any other council members would like to join me to take part in this wonderful ceremony, please feel free to do so.
I'll be happy to join, but I must comment, I haven't seen you in a while, Pete, and as former Hoosiers, both of us, I must say you look like you hail from Napanee, Indiana, tonight.
Oh, that's right. Well, as soon as I finish my book, the beard's coming off.
Yeah, and I was going to say the same thing. Nice to see you, Pete. We haven't seen you in a while, and you're looking good.
Oh, thank you. Unfortunately, it's how you feel, not how you look. Okay, so we have Harvey Sim. Now, Harvey is not only a great guy, but he has a great mother. So I'd like to recognize the lady who took a presentation I gave to the Fullerton School District last week, which was a semi-disaster, and she shaped it up. So the presentation that you see is, where is it? Okay, thank you, Mrs. Sim. Thank you very much. Okay, Harvey. Let's see, who's the photographer here? Oh. Maybe I could have the parents come into the second row so they can take pictures on their...
Harvey, congratulations to you. Good job. Good job. On behalf of the city, we commend your efforts.
Oh, I got...
One more. Over here, one more. Congratulations. This is on behalf of the Assemblywoman, Sharon Gorg-Silva.
That's the mayor, Harvey. Be nice to him.
Right here, Harvey. And we're going to take a group picture right now with everyone, all right?
Oh, boy. Doug, you've seen this before. Doug? Okay. On first grade, we have, next please. Next slide, please. Oh, there are the pictures of the that's actually a kindergarten group. On the right, there's an action picture. We had a lady help us run the tournament, and Harvey second from the left. The gentleman standing behind, towering behind the kindergarten on the right is Michael Chen. He's been recommended to us by Dwayne Barber, many of whom you know Dwayne. He's Mr. Chess in Orange County. He's also recently been anointed as one of 6 Hall of Fame, Hall of Legends of chess, and specifically scholastic chess by the United States Chess Federation. Okay, next please, we have, next. First grade, we have Ryan Cho from Laguna Road. Ryan, where are you? Oh, I guess I don't have Ryan. Okay, we'll have to go on to second grade. Oh, let's take a look at the first graders, since we don't have Ryan here. Yeah, Ryan's one of the, we have several people in camps and vacation and everything else. Ryan is second from the left. The blue trophy is the number one, and all the other trophies are less. Red is second and green is third. Okay, next we have, next slide please. Second grade champion is Bowen Yen. Bowen, are you here? No Bowen. Oh, okay. Next, this will help help you to get to music day. Get down to the museum in a hurry. Okay, the next please. Okay, third grades were divided into two sub tournaments. The winners played off for first place, and Ethan Lee was first place winner. Is Ethan here? No, Ethan, he's also out. Okay, well. No, Ethan, well, Jaden's not a champion. He's a winner of his segment, but he played against the other guy and lost. No, Jaden. Jaden gets that. All right, finally we got somebody. Okay, that's one certificate. Another certificate. Okay, now you're shaking hands with the mayor. And he was last year's mayor. Why don't you take, Joshua, take your mask off for a second, okay? All right, here we go. It looks a lot better with the mask off. All right, congratulations. Okay, fifth grade.
Brenda. All right, Brenda.
Why don't you wait to the end, Jennifer?
Brenda?
Oh.
On behalf of the assembly.
Jennifer, where do you?
All right, very good. All right, wait, we have, is that it?
Dylan?
Dylan, all right, Dylan.
Congratulations. Here you go. She wants to give a shot. How about this from the assembly board?
Hey, Dylan, turn around. More certificates. Yeah.
Okay, you got it.
By the way, Dylan also played in the Super Champ tournament, and he came in third. Well, it was competition got a little tougher when you get to Super Champs.
Come on down. All right, one more picture. We'll have you, take a picture. We'll have you sit right now. We'll get a group picture as well.
Yeah, right, group picture. Okay, next please. Esther didn't show up. I couldn't get her to come. And Owen Teng, as I mentioned. So next. So let me show a picture. There are the Super Champs, the high schoolers. The Super Champs are on the left. So we have, Dylan is second among the Super Champs, and the three on the right are the high schoolers.
You're here? Sure, while he's here. Yeah, come on.
Doug has done this for many years. Could I- Okay, so I have one more picture. Alliance for President Mark Foley is here. So, good. You guys
We got one more picture while we gotta get the president out here.
Presidente.
He pays the bills.
No, he doesn't pay anything. Okay, thank you all. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councilman. Bruce, good to see you. Take care.
Sir, thank you very much for the wonderful presentation.
Wonderful.
It's good to see you.
Broken presentation.
That's
All right, Pete, good job again. And I'm glad you're looking good and doing well.
Thank you. Good to see you.
I want to be that active. You, Pete? Oh, it's four, yeah. Let me get it from you.
All right. So we are going to return back to the regularly scheduled program. We do have an appointment that we have to make this evening. It is Councilmember Zara, and it is a Library Board of Trustees appointment. It's an unexpired term ending December 31st, 2022. Madam City Clerk, any presentation to make on this item?
You pretty much made it for me, Mr. Mayor.
Well, efficiency, Madam City Clerk. Councilmember Zara, please.
Yes, I have an appointment. I'd like to appoint Ms. Megan McClellan.
Thank you, sir.
And if the council could please ratify with the motion in a second?
We will do that right after we hear public comments. Seeing none in chambers, we're going to go to Zoom.
Nothing on Zoom.
Very well. I'll seek a motion.
I'll move the item.
Very
I'll
well.
second.
Very well. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Dunlap.
Aye.
Councilmember Silva.
Yes.
Councilmember Zara.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Whitaker.
Aye.
Mayor Jung.
Aye.
Passes unanimously.
And after that, we have the consent calendar. If there are items that any council members wish to pull, I am going to pull number 6 because we do have the Honorable Supervisor Doug Chafee here. And
I'd move the balance.
I wish to just record a no vote on item 15.
15.
Yeah.
That's
all.
so noted, sir. But that's the public hearing item, sir. Or is it 14?
We go through.
No, I was incorrect. Sorry about that.
All right, sir. So we have a motion from Councilmember Dunlap to move the balance outside of pulling number 6.
I've got just a question on number 14, Mayor, if I may.
Of course, sir.
So on who is anyone here to? Yeah. So we're moving the trash bins to the middle of another parking lot. Did we look at moving them to the end, towards closer to the street?
We did, and unfortunately, well, it is right up against the new restaurant's doors, and they did not appreciate that location. So
Fair
we
enough.
moved them.
Thank you.
Yes.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Very well. Madam City Clerk, please call
Mr.
the-
Mr.
Oh,
Mayor,
I'm sorry, sir. Go ahead.
If I may,
Excuse me.
I don't have any objections to any of these items. I do want to just say, just on the active transportation plan that is on the consent calendar, I just want to thank everybody who worked on this. This is an extensive plan. I hope that we can get maybe a sort of the cliff notes or a summary on the websites and a link to it, because I think it has quite a bit of extensive information that the public would like to get to know what our plans are for making our city safer and more accessible when it comes to walking or biking. And there are some items on here that list of things that on the to-do list of this that I think we can prioritize, like making walking safer when it comes to sidewalks. And there is some lists, and I'm happy to share that with the public later on. And also, I've already shared it with with our city manager as far as what we can move really quickly with on this. So thank you. That's all I have, and I'm supportive.
Very well, sir. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Dunlap.
Aye.
Councilmember Silva.
Yes.
Councilmember Zara.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Whitaker.
Aye.
And Mayor Jung.
Aye.
Passes unanimously except for number 11. Six,
So-
not 11.
Number 6 has been pulled. It is the 2022 Hope Center funding. Is there a presentation that someone would like to make as a result of that? Or if I can invite the Honorable Supervisor Doug Chafee up as well? Sir, good evening.
Good evening, and thank you. I know you want to get out to the Day of Music, so as quick as I can. Chief Bob Dunn and I both serve on the Orange County Commission to End Homelessness, and during one of our meetings, he indicated a little short of money on finishing off the Hope Center, and I was very fortunate to have some discretionary money, to the tune of $500,000 that will go to help finish that center. The funding is to provide some exterior improvements, interior furniture such as desks, chairs, and tables for office use, so you can finish it off. And what this is a dispatch center essentially for for social workers to go out in the community. At some point in time, as many as 11 cities may subscribe to this service to work with homeless people, and also to look for mental health issues and substance use disorders. So that's where it starts. It's very important adjunct to what we've been doing to work with homeless people. Social workers especially trained not only to work with the crisis of the moment, but also to provide and direct the homeless people to resources they can get, because that has to continue. You can't just stop right there and say you're okay today. No, it must continue. I see this as possibly a precursor to some wider usage of social workers. It's not just homeless people that are in crisis and need help from time to time. So I can see this important in our services to the community. I heard, of course, as you have, about defunding the police. Let's give them another resource instead. Let's give them some social workers so they can do their job, and we can reach out to the correct procedure to de-escalate and help people that are having their crisis out in the street. So I see this as an important component. I thank the City of Fullerton for taking this on. It's a model program. It works well. I think we'll see it emulated in other places. So there's a motto that, if the chief were here, he'd say it for me. It's called, what they're saying, right people, homeless outreach is the right people, right resources, and right now. That's the model, and that's how they're going to follow, and they're going to help us as an important adjunct to what we're already doing. We're going to bring that point-in-time count down even more the next time we do it. So thank you, and thank you, Chief Dunn. It's been a pleasure to work with you on other things.
Thank you. Mr. Supervisor, we thank you for your funding of this. We really appreciate the county's money, sir. Any other further comments from council members?
I just want to say thank you, Supervisor, and thank you, Chief, for putting this together and getting it out there and doing it, if you will, and bringing some hope to our people who are less fortunate. So thank you.
Well, Fullerton is my hometown, so I'm glad to spend the money here. Thank you.
Indeed, sir.
Yeah. And if I may, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to also
course.
extend my thanks to the supervisor and to the chief as well for all this work. This is an exciting project, and and without your help, we would not be able to be pioneers in solving this the homelessness crisis that we have. Thank you.
Thank you. Take good care of your chief. He's the best we've got.
No, it's the only one we got right now. All right, public hearing item, we have 15. It's an amendment to fiscal year 2020.
Motion to receive that.
Oh, I'm
those
sorry.
funds and
Yes.
properly
Make the
allocate
motion.
it.
Excuse me.
So move, item 6.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Very good. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Dunlap.
Aye.
Councilmember Silva.
Yes.
Councilmember Zara.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Whitaker.
Aye.
Mayor Jung.
Aye.
Passes unanimously.
And again, we do have a public hearing item. It's number 15, amendment to fiscal year 2022-23, schedule of fees and charges to include proposed changes to parks and recreation fees and charges. This was the item that was continued at the last meeting. So,
Mr. Mayor, I hate to interrupt you, but on that Hope Center item.
oh, we had a
I'm
public
not sure
comment.
You asked the public for.
Let's return to that, because I do have a hand raised in chambers. Mr. Gamble.
Yes. Mr. Mayor, City Council, my name is Curtis Gamble, activist for the homeless and the veterans. I just like to speak about item number 6, which was Mr. Chafee. He left, but he's with the Orange County. He's with the Orange County Board of Supervisors, and I really appreciate what he's doing, coming back to the community from the Board of Supervisors to donate basically $500,000 to the Hope Center, and I want to. I'll just share the item. I want to share this with you. The item. Number 1, the agenda item. Approved the issue of $500,000 grant to the city of Fullerton for the 4th District allocation of American Rescue Act ARPA funding to support improvements to the Hope Homeless Outreach and Proactive Engagement Center and the purchase of necessary furniture, features, and equipment. Number 2, find under Government Code Section 22.7 that this expenditure is necessary to meet the social needs of the population, particularly the area of homeless prevention, public safety, mental health, and rehabilitation. Number 3, he authorized and direct the auditor controller to issue $500,000 grant to the city of Fullerton. This is great, again, and I think that receiving this $500,000, we must make sure that it is used for the homeless purpose. Many of our homeless are still in the streets. They're looking forward, because I told them that they would receive tiny houses, and we're sitting here waiting to order them. And also, we are happy about the Hope Center, but we still feel that it's out of reach for the people. This Hope Center should also include the Hunt Library, so that the homeless or anybody else, the whole community, will have a place to go. I don't see why we should put all the funding up on the hill away from the homeless where they can't reach it. I, again, would like to see tiny houses. I don't think anybody should be homeless. We have over $10 million. We keep getting more money every day. People want tiny shelters. I'm going to say this all the time. I don't know when you guys are going to get it. You know, we have builders that they've already built the homes. You know, I go to these conventions like what the Anaheim convention, and they have them there. They're sitting there waiting on your phone call. And then you walk out of here, nothing gets done, ever. But we keep getting more money. And we're going to get more money because the government, they were always going to fund that. But if we don't use it for the purpose, again, tiny houses, tiny shelters, whatever you want to call them. Thank you very much.
Director Chang, would you be so kind as to give your brief and efficient, eloquent presentation?
Well, my portion of the presentation will be extremely short. So good evening, Mayor and City Council. Tonight's item is a continuation of the public hearing held on June 7th to present the proposed Parks and Recreation fees and charges for fiscal year 22-23. And I'm actually going to hand over the presentation to Acting Deputy Director of Parks and Recreation, Alice Loya, to provide an overview of the predominant changes proposed for 22-23. And next slide.
Director Loya, good evening again. I apologize I made you run here, and
I was a little out of breath, but I made it.
Excuse me for that.
That's okay. Each year, our Parks and Recreation staff conduct market studies to determine any proposed fee changes without negatively impacting revenues, attendance, and the quality of programs. Cost increases that affect fees include hourly wages. As you know, the minimum wage goes up each year, maintenance, insurance, custodial, and security services. We also include in our proposal, our policy statement, administrative changes that align with current city policies, such as the standard insurance policy that the city has, and the council-approved athletic field use allocation policy. Fee and policy changes are highlighted throughout the document that you had attached to this agenda. Before I go into some of the changes, I want to bring up John Clements. There was an error in one of the changes, and he is the person that's best to explain it. But before we get into this slide, the Parks and Rec Commission reviewed the policy statement and fee schedule, and they recommend approval to the City Council. So right now, I'm going to call up John just to make one correction so that we get that taken care of right off the top.
Very well. Mr. Clements, good evening, sir.
Hello, Mr. Mayor and council members. I want to bring your attention to a miscategorization of one of our organizations. We put them in group 3 instead of 2. Basically, on page 11 of the fee schedule, there is a group number 2. It's the competitive non-recreational category. Now, our sports policy puts that group in group 2 in the policy, and that's for the field allocation priority. And by mistake, I put it in field in 2 for the fees. So they should be in 2 for the allocation and 3 for the fees. So I just want to make sure that it'll be a nice reduction in fees if we leave them in 2. So that's the change.
Wonderful. And we appreciate the clarification. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Director Loya, please continue.
Okay, some of the changes, we're highlighting here. We have a few more changes. Contract classes on page 3. We're changing the revenue split between the contractors and the city. And the reason why we're doing something like this is that we share the same contractors with a lot of the surrounding cities in Orange County. And we have to keep the split consistent or else we'll lose our teachers. So that's one of the reasons for that. Private outdoor classes, we have a lot of people that like to use our parks. And these are not our classes. These are private instructors that, like on the stairs. So we want to make sure that we capture that as well. Camp Hillcrest is our fee-based camp at Hillcrest Park. And we're increasing that $10 per week. We do have a multiple sibling credit discount. Atlanta Park Pavilion, that is going up $15 per hour, and it is to be consistent with the other park pavilions. That's on page 10. And then the hourly staff fee for Parks and Recreation is going to go up, and it is based on the fact that the minimum wage is going up and costs are going up. Security guard, we had no choice. We had to increase the security guard fee. That is a pass-through. The renters pay the security guard fee. We pay the security guard, and then it goes in that way. And then we had some changes at the Fullerton Community Center, mostly for block rates. The Fullerton Community Center is a very popular venue. It's so popular that we're completely booked for this year and 2023. So we do not have any openings until 2024. Although we do, so the demand is very high. People are very interested in using that. We want to increase the fees now in case anybody drops out, and we have an opening that we can put people that are on our waiting list. Everyone who has booked prior to the fee change, if it is approved, will get the old fee. So there's going to be no changes to anybody who has booked. There are other fees, but these are probably the ones that you would be interested in most. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Before we go to council questions, I did have one comment to make. Director Loya, I applaud you and your staff on your event planning skills for that community center. It's something remarkable that you're clearly a year and a half booked already. That's
Corey Lance, our supervisor. She's an expert at rentals.
Kudos to her. Council members I see you're ready, sir.
Yeah, I do have a couple of questions, and thank you for accommodating, pushing this item, continuing to today. So just a couple of questions and then maybe just a comment. My first question is on the increase of fees on the Fullerton Connect advertising.
Mm-hmm.
These are significant jumps in the prices, and my concern about this is that have we talked already to the current advertisers because I'm worried that if we jump this much, we would lose the people we already have.
At the prices that we have now, we have many advertisers that are paying for a full page because it's very inexpensive. So our advertisers like Cal State Fullerton, the Orange County Power Authority, so we don't think we're going to lose advertisers based on who is wanting to advertise in it. And it goes out to, this is goes out to every single household in Fullerton.
Right, but are we pricing out the local businesses?
I don't think so. We don't have advertisements from too many local businesses. These are usually the bigger businesses that want to put an ad into something that's going to go out to every household. So we've never had too many local businesses.
Is there a reason why we've never had local businesses? I mean, I think this is a good opportunity to expand more advertisers if we maybe have a tiered level.
We can definitely look in that to see if any local business wants to advertise, but they haven't in the past. It's been mostly the big organizations that are wanting to advertise.
Right. I mean, I accept that, but I'd love to see if there may be a little outreach to see if there are any businesses that could be interested. Then maybe we can look into maybe a tiered level in the future. But and then the other question is on the Hillcrest camp. And I know $10 a week doesn't seem a lot, but then when you look at the total number, this is a lot of money for a low-income family. And my concern is that we are pricing out, as we incrementally increase, we're pricing out some of our residents who may not be able to afford some of this anymore. So the question I have is that, do we have any other type of sort of grants or ability to subsidize some of the lower income neighborhoods and schools?
We do. Just to let you know, Camp Hillcrest is completely booked for the summer. There are no more openings. It's very popular because of the things they do. They get taken to the pool to go swimming. They have excursions like Knott's Berry Farm, Aquarium of the Pacific. So it in comparison to camps that are similar to that, it is slightly below market rate. But we know that it is not as affordable for the residents that live in the more disadvantaged communities. So we do have a scholarship program called Secret Pals, and we advertise that all the time. We collect a suggested donation of $1 for every time you register for a class, but we're also collecting doing fundraising for that all the time. So we do have some campers that have used Secret Pals to go to Camp Hillcrest. A lot of times it's to take classes, a lot of swimming lessons with Secret Pals, but this year we had some campers. So that was good.
Is this program just for the Hillcrest, or does it apply for other?
The Secret Pals It applies for anything that we do in Parks and Recreation that has a fee.
All right. I'd appreciate that, and I hope maybe we can maybe market it a little bit more and advertise it a little more and see how we can expand that particular program.
We're going to do more advertising for that one.
Yeah, I mean, my only concern about increasing fees always is that it does tend to, over time, price out a portion of our residents from services that we're all paying for them in one way or another. So just hope to keep that in mind as we are trying to navigate between what is financially prudent and fiscally responsible, and also socially responsible. So thank you.
Thank you for that. Councilmember Silva, you look ready, sir.
Yeah, just to follow up on that, I know this camp, even though we are increasing it, it's still a great bargain. I worked at sports camps before where we were charging a lot more than that, and this was before I had gray hair. So a long time ago, and they were way more than this. So I think this is a good deal, and maybe we should, all of us up here, make an effort to promote the Secret Pals and get funding in, because it would be great to see more kids fill it up to the rim.
Well, we're taking donations at any time.
There you go. We will look at that, yes. No. And I had a question on just for clarification, on page 11, the athletic fields. Can you just clarify or list who are a few Group A Group 1 and Group 2 groups, just so that we can all kind of reference that?
Absolutely. Group 1 are our recreation-based partner leagues that are affiliated with a national or state organization that will provide them with training, fingerprinting, insurance. So in Fullerton, it's the Fullerton Rangers, Fullerton Pop Warner, Fullerton Bears, Golden Hill Little League, East Fullerton Little League, West Fullerton Little League, and Fullerton Hills Softball. Oh, and Fullerton Rugby. That's it. I think I got everybody.
Okay. All right.
That's in group one.
And how about group two? Yeah.
But, and also the Fullerton School District, because until we bring you another item, we use their fields, so we
Right.
can't charge them to use their fields.
Right.
And then group two, I'm going to bring John Clements, because since the change that he made on who was in group two, I had it memorized that competitive leagues would be in group two. So I'm going to bring John up to explain who's in group two.
Mr. Clements, who's in group two, sir?
Group two are public high schools, and then there would be the organizations that were associates before, things like the Boys and Girls Club, the YMCA, the local organizations that they don't really do direct sports, but they do peripherally, they do sports as well.
And we're going to assume that group three is everybody else.
We're Fullerton residents, and then all the competitive leagues, the travel groups.
Very well.
Yeah.
And since you're up there, Mr. Clements, one other question, we had spoken before about how do we verify that they meet the 80% residency, and
Yes.
we had talked about using Power School. Any update on that, or can we use that, or is there an option for that to verify residency?
Well, there's two things. The school district now has some of our partners using their fields, and so they have the opportunity to use Power School because they are now, in effect, their partners too. So we don't have the wherewithal to say, hey, I've got a group that doesn't use any school fields. Can you check those people for me? But we can do, we have 4 organizations of our 8 that are going to be using the school district fields, and they can use the Power School.
All right. Thank you. All right. Thank you.
Very well. Councilmember Dunlap, anything, sir?
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, I just want to add for some perspective on the cost. I mean, I can tell you as the father of 2 little ones that are in a number of camps this summer, I'll tell you, even at those current prices, it's about half price. Full day program. The full day program is still cheaper than the Muckenthalers camp, but I think at the half day or the full week, 6-hour day, which is 2 hours more than the Muckenthaler, it's half price. So I still think there's a lot of value there. So I definitely think there's, I think that $10 increase, I think is more than fair, generous there. So
Very well, sir. Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, anything, sir? Very good.
One more question, Mayor. I
Councilmember.
forgot. So we talked about how the community center is booked from here until eternity. So
Till
can
2024.
Can we put those same skills to work at Lemon,
At
the
Maple?
Maple Community Center? I mean, if we have the staff to book it, I think that would be an avenue for us, the city, to open it, manage it, and operate it, and make it available to the community. So is that, can we look at that? And
We are looking at it right now. We're putting together some budgets for you, and we're going to bring it back to council for you to decide how you want us to operate Maple Center.
All right.
That
Cool.
should be coming soon.
Thank you.
So at this point, I will open the public hearing. We'll now hear public comments on this item. Any members of the public wishing to comment? Seeing none in chambers. While she comes forward, let's talk about Zoom. Anybody on Zoom?
We have no hands raised in Zoom.
Very well, then we'll just have the one public comment. Good evening.
Good evening. I just had a comment too about the Hillcrest Park and the increase in fees, because I do agree with you that, you might be pricing out some of our families who are, and if we're talking about an equity issue here in Fullerton, I'd be interested to know how many scholarships you are doing for our students or underserved community, as we do have some low-income schools and families, and I would like to know how many scholarships you are doing for that camp, because yes, I think families who have a dual income and everything, it is easy to throw $210 or whatever to a camp like that. But even I think about my husband and I, and we're both teachers, and I'm like, oh, I've never even known about that camp. Or, would I be able to put both of my boys at $210 a week for both of them? I know you said there was a discount for siblings and everything, but even I would kind of oh, that's $400 for both of my boys to do that. So, and my husband and I are both teachers. So I would be kind of concerned about, yes, I think it is just a $10 increment and everything. But I would like to make sure that it is, making sure you are reaching our low-income families, and that it is, Fullerton residents, also about the community center. I love that, to hear that it's, booked through 2024, and if, I wanted to do something for, I don't know, my husband and our, anniversary or something, is there a discount for Fullerton residents? How many of those people are Fullerton residents that are getting married and using our community center? Is there a Fullerton discount that for people who live here versus, people who just come and use our facility? Because we do have beautiful facilities and everything. So that's all I wanted to say as a community member. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We'll go ahead and have staff answer those questions after the public comments. Mr. Gamble again.
Mr. Mayor, City Council, Curtis Gamble, activist for the homeless and veterans. I'd just like to say I'm happy that we have so much business for the community center, but and I'm glad that it's booked for almost 2 years, something like that. But I still, and I'm very concerned about the prices, and I'm fine with raising prices. I know we have to do that, but I'm also still very concerned about those who cannot afford it and those who get booked don't have an opportunity to book, because people like to book things, sometimes at the last minute. So we shouldn't just get stuck on one particular center. We sit here with the Hunt Library, the most beautiful center to help.
Sir, that's not up for discussion this evening, so.
Okay, let me go back to this part. We need more than one location. It's very frustrating to have something, but then you can't use it. And again, we're very grateful for having people that booked up for 2 years. But what do we do now? The community have needs, family needs. And so we just can't stop here at that building. We need to go to another building, and then another one. As long as the service is demanding it, and what I'm hearing tonight is that it's demanding it. I don't want to see young people get cut out of an opportunity just because we're happy because we have filled this building up. We need more services for the community. Let's just not stop here. And again, I'm very happy about this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Next comment.
Hi. First of all, I'd like to say I'm very happy with all the improvements that happened at Hillcrest Park. I frequently like to ride my bike through there, and there's some parts that are very beautiful, the duck pond, the memorial, and the fountain. As far as the fees going up, I feel like the quality of the park experience should also be there if you're going to raise the fees. There's parts of Hillcrest Park that are in really bad disrepair. So as far as the drive, there's a rail that's been broken for a long time, and there's a lot of things that need maintenance. The picnic area just needs a weed eater in there. It's just, so I feel like if you're going to raise the fees, the maintenance should come along with it and make that a nice picnic area. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now close the public hearing.
We got one more, Mayor.
There's, I think, 2 of us.
Oh. Ms. Milton, before we close the public hearing.
Would like to, are you going to speak on this item?
Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for allowing me to speak. Again, my name is Maureen Milton, and I may have missed this in Alice's presentation, but do they have discounts for multi-children in one family? Is that something they thought of, or did I miss it in the presentation? Because if somebody has 5 or 6 kids, it adds up really fast. So that's what I was wondering. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll close the public hearing, and I will ask Director Loya to come up and answer some of these questions that were so aptly asked by our public.
For Hillcrest, Camp Hillcrest, it is a little bit pricey, but as you've heard, it is much less expensive than a lot of camps. Camp Hillcrest is a specific camp that we have. We used to have other programs in the summer at our neighborhood centers, but now that we've partnered with OC United and Solidarity,
they are providing those free programs that we used to run at their facilities. So we're not in competition with them, and that is one of the reasons why we partnered with them, because they could provide these types of things. So there are other camps out there. In addition to that, the Boys and Girls Club have a lot of camps. They are a little bit different. You do not have to pay for excursions. You can just do the day camp, and if you want to do excursions, then there's additional fees for that. So, and the YMCA also has camps. So we had to look at what everyone's providing so that we're not duplicating or stepping on top of each other's toes. So our camp is different. There are opportunities in Fullerton with our partners to attend a more affordable camp. That's one. Two, we do offer sibling discounts. We also offer resident discounts on almost everything that we do. The only place that we don't have a resident discount is at the Fullerton Golf Course, because it's on Army Corps property, and they state that every resident in the United States is a resident, so we're not allowed to do Fullerton resident there. What was the other question? Oh, at camp at Hillcrest Park, we're not talking about any fees for Hillcrest Park, we're just talking about Camp Hillcrest.
Very good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And then one more question, Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Sure.
You mentioned the other camps, OC United and Solidarity. Could we get an update on Solidarity and that community center? Because I know it was fire. There was fire at the community center, then there was asbestos, and they were going back and forth on who was going to clean up and when would. So anyway, can we get an update on that to see what's going on there?
Yeah, I'll have to talk to Kelly Fritzl, because Kelly Fritzl is the one that is administering the lease. But from what I understand, a lot of things were cleared up today. And OC United Solidarity at some point with EV Free will be able to get back in.
Yeah. I mean, even if you can just do an email to council just to see.
We will do that, certainly.
All right,
Very
thank
well.
you.
If I may, just one
course.
final
Go ahead.
comment. Actually, it's more of a suggestion. Have we considered reaching out to any of our businesses out in the community to sponsor maybe grant programs for the camp or for other recreational services?
We consistently do that all the time, reaching out, asking for sponsorships for pretty much everything we do.
Okay.
It's part of our routine.
So let's talk offline, and
Okay.
I'll see what we can do and to reach out more and promote this. But I'm generally supportive. I'm very supportive of our Parks and Rec, and you guys do a wonderful job. I cringe about the fee increases, but I know it's inevitable that we have to make up the cost. But I hope we make an effort to find sponsorships, and I'm happy to personally, and I know my colleagues here will probably be happy to see what we can do to bring some of these sponsorships to the city.
That'd be great. And one more point of clarification that somebody brought up that I forgot to address. Our services and programs that we offer at the Fullerton Community Center are not full. It's just renting after hours for private events that are full.
Indeed. All right, so I'll seek a motion to council to move this item or further discussion.
I'll move the item.
Is there a second? Very good. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Dunlap.
Aye.
Councilmember Silva. Councilmember Silva.
Oh, yes.
Councilmember Sara.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Whitaker.
Aye.
Mayor Jung.
Aye.
Passes unanimously.
Item number 16, again, was continued. The next item on the list, number 17, is water quality report on public health goals and maximum containment level goals. Director McWade, good evening.
Good evening. And I know Susie Q plays at 8, so I can present very quickly on this. Basically, the Public Health Goals Report is a requirement by Cal EPA and OEHA that we essentially present on constituents that are within our water and what it would cost for us to treat essentially to a level 0. And so that's the purpose of this report. If you want to go to the next slide, this just gives the background. Next slide. So it really is, these things are highlighted within the report that's attached to the council action. It's identify type and levels of contaminants, determine best available treatment options, estimate the cost to reduce to those 0 levels, make recommendations if needed, and review in a public forum, which we're doing this evening. Next slide, please. I would like to note that Fullerton's water meets or exceeds all safety standards. This is the data analysis, and it essentially shows 5 constituents that we are under the maximum contaminant level, which is the drinking water standard, but we do have detections when you look at a public health goal for coliform, PCE, tetrachloroethylene, uranium, perchlorate, as well as arsenic. Next slide. So I'm just going to describe what's in each one of these slides, and it's available for the public, but essentially it gives the maximum level, it gives the public health goal, what kind of risk it is for the public, what the best available treatment option is, and then the actions recommended. In this case, for coliform, it's basically bacteria, and so chlorine is the best available technology. We already do that, and so the recommended action is none. If you one more slide, and then if you see, the only additive on this slide is the fact that there's a dollar figure, and we get those dollar figures from the Association of California Water Agency estimates utilized by almost every water agency. So that's to help the public understand that if we were to treat to the level of, for in this case, cancer risk to 1 in 1 million, then it would cost us another $619,000 a year in rates and impact a customer $20 per year. So with that, I stand ready to answer questions if we'd like, or I can go through each constituent.
I have a quick question, Director McQuaid. Our water comes from 2 different sources. Which source is this? Is
So
this
this-
groundwater, or is it?
It's all water. It's
All-
whatever water is served to our residents.
Okay.
So it's various testing sites, and it's required testing.
And how do you do you do an average between the metropolitan water sites and the groundwater, and that's how you come up with these numbers?
No, there's no averaging. It's actually a specific sample that's taken at various places within the distribution system. So it can be source water, it can be groundwater, or it can be actual import water.
Okay. And the reason I'm asking this is because are there any efforts or joint efforts between the 2 water agencies that we are partners with to look at maybe these even further reductions in these contaminant levels?
I would say that I think most water agencies are focused on meeting or exceeding the current state levels. And so, for example, perchlorate is perhaps being adjusted. It's making sure you're within that range of what's been adopted, because it's a really, I'm trying to think of the correct word, intensive process where they review a lot of data related to the health effects, related to studies, related to exposures, and most of these exposures relate to like parts per billion. It's the exposure over a 70-year lifetime.
Right. And I know we went through that with PFAS.
We did.
Yeah.
And we still will continue go through that.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
All right, very well. Anything further? Nothing?
Just quickly, I wanted to commend you on the water quality report delivered by fire hose. That was very succinct. Thank you.
Very succinct, very efficient indeed, sir. I will now open the public hearing. We'll now hear public comments on this matter. Seeing none in chambers, we will move to Zoom.
Nothing in Zoom.
Very well. We'll now close the public hearing, and I'll seek a motion.
So moved.
Second?
Yeah.
Thank you. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Dunlap.
Aye.
Councilmember Silva.
Yes.
Councilmember Zara.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Whitaker.
Aye.
Mayor Jung.
Aye.
Passes unanimously.
Next item, 18, is small wireless communication facilities within public right-of-way municipal code amendment. And we have City Engineer Stephen.
Yes,
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. So my name is Stephen Bice, the city engineer. I've been on staff for about 6 months. I think it's my first time in front of you all, so looking forward to getting to know you and as well as serve the city of Fullerton. So yes, I'm here today to present on our small wireless communication facilities within the public works. We do have a PowerPoint available. That's fine.
And Mr. Bice, welcome to Fullerton, since we haven't
Thank you.
been here for a while.
Thank you. Okay, so the next slide actually will provide you a little bit of background. So these are the small wireless devices that you've seen on top of some of our street lights, as well as some power poles around town in other cities. In 2001, City Council adopted an ordinance to regulate these devices. In 2012, Congress actually passed an act which required local agencies to approve any eligible facilities within our right-of-way. And then in 2018, the FCC further provided a ruling which implemented rules that limited the city's ability to regulate and develop small wireless communications facilities. So this is really in response to that, updating our wireless telecommunication ordinance. Next slide, please. So yes, the purpose is to establish methods by which the city will review, process, and control wireless communication facilities within the public right-of-way, develop a series of development standards of facilities, remain compliant with federal law and guidelines. Next slide, please. We did do extensive coordination with multiple telecommunication companies. You can see a few up here on the screen. We started the coordination with them back in late 2020. We did receive several comments. We took those into consideration with our attorneys, and we applied applicable comments as we saw fit. Next slide, please. So code highlights. So it has several definitions. It does have a very extensive submittal package requirement description, including application fees, construction drawings, site plans, photo simulations, project narratives and justifications, radio frequency compliance reports, certificate of public conveyance and necessity, master pole agreement, etc. It also does have extensive requirements on location, structure, setback requirements, such as the location. I think the preference for location is non-residential districts, residential overlay districts, and lastly, residential districts and schools. Support structures, the priority of support structures is existing or replacement light standards would be our priority. Our preference, I should say. Second would be existing or replacement of utility poles, new camouflage standalone poles, and lastly, any other type of poles approved by the director. Design standards, I'm gonna rattle off a few, but there's quite a few in the ordinance. They cannot be located less than 25 feet from lawful dwelling. They clears required site distance at intersections. It's not less than 7 feet from driveways, and then not less than 50 feet from driveways at schools, police stations, fire stations, or other public, private emergency response facilities. Locate close as feasible to property lines and no more than 5 feet on either side of a property line. No installation within 100 feet of historic structures or local landmarks or public art. No installation within 500 feet of another facility of the same company. As well as it has a very long description of our conditions of approval process. Next slide, please. So this is an example of the photo simulation we would require from applicants. On the left is an existing photo, and on the right is the proposed photo. So you can see the telecommunication device on top of our street light. So this is what we would see from an applicant, and it's at the angle and the viewpoint that we would request. We want to see this as our community will see it. Next slide, please. These are a few examples up close. The one on the left is an antenna that would be on a power pole. The one on the right is something that's actually installed in real life off of Chapman. And this is on one of our streetlight poles. So these are some examples of what you'd see installations look like. Next slide, please. So Planning Commission, on April 27th, Planning Commission adopted a resolution recommending that the council adopt the ordinance amending Title 15 of our code. Next slide, please. So our recommended actions. So we're recommending that you adopt the ordinance amending Title 15 of our code, as well as adopt the resolution amending the fee schedule to be compliant with federal requirements. And at this time, I will take any questions.
Any questions from council?
I do
Go
have
ahead.
a quick question.
Mr. Mayor Pro
I've
Tem.
noticed these are prevalent in residential areas in Anaheim quite a bit recently. And my question is, are these replacing any existing equipment, or is it all in addition to?
It's a little bit of both. This is mainly for new installations, but if a telecommunication company wants to replace an existing unit, they'd have to come through us for approval, because there's a lot of requirements on aesthetics, as well as any improvements needed to our facilities to house their facility.
Yeah, I was wondering if they'll find it more economical to do that, to replace those that they're paying rentals on currently.
They can, but they'd have to go through the permit process, just as a new facility would.
Thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right, I did have one additional one. Is there any staffing expenditures, I should say, as a result of this amendment? That increased staffing at all to keep in compliance with all of this?
I don't believe there's any proposed at this
Okay,
time.
very good. I will now open the public hearing. We'll now hear public comments on this item. If there's any members of the public wishing to comment, please come forward. Seeing none, we'll go to Zoom.
We have one hand raised in Zoom.
Please.
Jane Rifer, you should be unmuted.
And
Great,
Ms.
thank you
Rifer,
so
we did receive your email communication.
Oh, great. And I didn't realize that would even come through during the meeting, so I appreciate that. I consider that extra. Thank you. I went through this entire Planning Commission meeting on this without realizing that this all refers to the new 5G. So I missed that. It does say within the staff report that the provider intends to place hundreds of these essentially throughout the city. And I think that this is fairly, obviously,
Go ahead, Jane. I accidentally hit unmute on you. Now she's not taking the unmute.
No,
there
I did,
you are.
I did
Sorry
place
about
it.
that. Your name jumped up in the list and I hit the wrong button. Sorry about that.
Oh, okay. No problem. So I was saying that I think that this is very well thought out in many cases because there's so many different permutations that it could take. I'd like to understand just a little bit more about a couple of things and add maybe some suggestions for additions. The hierarchy seems to allow placement in residential and school neighborhoods if other locations are not feasible. And so I think most people in the city would be saying, hey, how does this relate to me? How far away from my house or where I live are some of these facilities? So it does seem, and maybe you can verify this, that the minimum guarantee, so to speak, is that it would not be within 25 feet of a lawful dwelling. So that sounds good, but it seems that there are two things that could get kind of in the way of that. Is it the dwelling? Is it the dwelling unit or the property line? And I would like to see whichever is further. And also, each company cannot locate within 500 feet of each other, but on the staff report or on the presentation, it shows 6 different communications companies, and there may be more. So that could mean that they each apply for locations in essentially the same place. So a home could be surrounded by 6 or more of these facilities. So I'd like to see if our city can have some kind of method for adjudicating or deciding can there be a limit? Can there be joint use of a pole? Can there be a reduction in emissions if so many facilities are located close to residents or schools? Also, I'd like to see if the testing can be publicly posted, in other words, on our website so that interested residents could check. And that I'd like to see if in the future, besides the 2 tests that are already going to be required, whether the city can work out some kind of interval to test maybe every 10 years or something where the public can have the confidence that the safe amount of emissions and the allowable amount of emissions are not being exceeded. And I also had the question that the mayor has about, especially in the implementation, are we sure that the fees collected are going to cover the costs of potential new staff hires in order to administer all this? They are popping up everywhere, and it may be a burdensome process financially.
Thank you. We'll go ahead and close the public hearing, and then we'll direct Stephen, go ahead and answer some of these questions, sir. If you need me to recap, I'm happy to do so.
Oh, I think I got some notes here. So there's an RF, which is radio frequency compliance report required with each applicant. So I think that'll be a good sign for us when we're reviewing applications throughout the next several years, how the cumulative effect is going to be, this is going to have on our residents. The location for dwelling unit, our attorney's here, he may be able to clarify the definition of that. I interpret that as the actual dwelling, that building itself, but if I'm wrong, am I? Okay, I'm correct. And then what was one of her other questions? Oh, so staffing. So the fees are actually set right now. We're using the FCC's fees as our baseline, so that's what's in the resolution today. However, those can be amended. We are currently working on updates to all of our public works fee schedule. So we will be working with our attorneys to make sure that we're in compliance and collecting adequate fees for the labor involved in processing these permits. There is a ministerial review process for some of these, so that should be fairly straightforward and simple. There is a discretionary review process for more complicated scenarios, and those might take a little bit more effort. So we are looking at adjusting our fees that are even beyond what's in here, but right now it's a baseline just so we're in compliant with current law.
Very good. And congratulations on your first presentation. First of many, I hope. I will seek a motion from council to move this item.
So moved.
I will second. No further comments. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Dunlap.
Aye.
Councilmember Silva.
Yes.
Councilmember Zara.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Whitaker.
Aye.
Mayor Jung.
Aye.
Passes unanimously, and I'll quickly read the title of the ordinance, which is ordinance number 3317, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Fullerton, California, adding chapter 15.53 and making related changes to chapters 15.55 and 15.6 of the municipal code to revise the standards for wireless communication facilities and related infrastructure within the public right-of-way.
Thank you. Now, the regular business item number 19 has already been dealt with. Number 20 is our standard outdoor dining guidelines and lease rate update and walk-on Wilshire pilot bike lane. Before we take public comments on this item, we do have a presentation PowerPoint, sir. So,
Sorry, may I, council members? I was here in support, my name is Tom Connor. I was here in support of consent calendar item number 13. And I was looking at the notes. I think it moved forward, I believe so, on one motion. Is that correct?
Sir. It did.
Okay. Thank you so much for all your support. Just one thing. We were here in support of the repeal for parking enforcement or overnight parking, and our block's been kind of targeted like 7 or 8 times.
Please feel free to email council members accordingly, and we'll address it with you personally.
Okay, but I was just going to say that if you're following the recommendation of approving, how soon can we start parking on the street without fear of getting ticketed? That's the question.
If you don't mind, we'll go ahead and have that answered for you as we're moving along here.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. All right. So, who is doing the? Oh,
Already a second
all right. Second
presentation.
already in one evening. You're
1-2 punch here. Yeah.
This is great. All right, please.
All right, so again, Stephen Bai, City Engineer. So this is a presentation of standard outdoor dining guidelines and lease rate update, as well as a walk-on Wilshire, an update or a recommendation for the bike element for the walk-on Wilshire. So need for the updates at a March council meeting, we provided direction to extend the temporary outdoor dining until June 13th for businesses that expressed interest in pursuing the standard outdoor dining encroachment agreement. Temporary permits would be further extended to September 30th for businesses submitting applications by that June 13th deadline. This excludes WOW. We kind of treated WOW separately. 9 businesses signed affidavits expressing interest and willing to pay the monthly lease rates for use of public land, effective April 1st. The 2012 program guidelines required it needed an update based on the processes and procedures, applications, agreements for businesses pursuing the standard agreement. Council also directed staff to revisit the lease rates that were currently being used and suggested businesses shall be charged the current market rates for use of public land. Next slide, please. So the update to our outdoor dining guidelines, there's just a few items noted here that have changed or just more modified. Application requirements, application form, including the applicable fees. We're now requiring a letter of authorization from the applicant's landlord. Application review process is changed slightly. Additional information on protocol. When applicant is requesting use of land owned paid parking lots or stalls. That's something new into the guidelines that wasn't in the previous 2012. Removal of fees and lease rates. Those fees and lease rates were actually adopted as part of the 2012 guidelines. So we're separating that out, putting anything fee-related or lease rates related into our fee schedule, and updated encroachment agreement language. Operational requirements that change is some design criteria. We just got to make sure we're up to the current code. Minor changes based on new federal and state and local requirements. Next slide, please. So one of the bigger changes, as I mentioned previously, was in regard to parking lots. With COVID, several businesses requested and did mobilize in public paid parking lots. So we wanted to make sure we covered that in the new guidelines. So we did clarify what kind of body of approval would be required. So you can see here, this is a map. Parking districts 1 and 2 would go to the Board of Parking Places, which is another hat of our Transportation Circulation Commission. And then any other areas, essentially in the restaurant district and otherwise, would go to you, to City Council for approval or denial. Required lessees would be required to pay any revenue lost to the city for any paid parking in addition to the lease rates for the square footage. Next slide, please. Okay, so now on to lease.
If I may, I
rates.
have a quick question.
Sure.
If I may interrupt. In looking at the parking lots, have we had any consideration for the percentage of space that they will take over and the loss of actual parking spots?
Well, the map you saw there, I think, is the whole area. Even districts 1 and 2 are in the restaurant overlay zone, which don't require a set parking number to certain restaurants, if I'm right there. Yeah, so any occupation of those parking stalls, it's part of the same concept, right? That they weren't required to produce a certain number of parking spaces because they're within this district.
But we would essentially be losing some parking spots.
Good.
Is there a way to manage that loss, like mitigate it in a way so that we're not having restaurants completely take over the entire lot and then there's no more parking space left?
Right. That's why we wanted to make sure we were clear on what body would be approved or denying this. So it wouldn't be a ministerial review or the director's decision. It would either come to the council or board and parking places. So it would be sensitive. It would be a sensitive request from an applicant to take over parking long term. And that's something that either council or board of parking places would have to decide when that comes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay,
Continue, please.
Yes, lease rates. So in 2011, staff recommended monthly lease rates of 75%, roughly 75% of market value, which was an average of $1.34 per square foot per month. In 2012, council directed staff to reduce that to 50%, which put out to about 90 cents per square foot per month. And then later in 2012, those rates were adopted with the guidelines, and it was in a tiered fashion, depending on the liquor license held for the business. So now, 2022, 10 years later, we're revisiting that per council direction. So we obtained the services of a brokerage firm to provide us some guidance there, and we did provide them all of the previous information that we had, and we directed them to use the 2011 market values as a baseline, that's 75% market value back then, and then escalate that based on a consumer price index. And what resulted from that is what you see in front of you. We wanted to maintain the same tiered system based on liquor license held. So it increased the fees, as you see here. No liquor would be 58 cents per square foot per month, and so on. And you can see the asterisk here that, and any application that was less than 100 square feet that did not sell liquor, we would not be charging any kind of lease. Next slide, please. So just to compare, I think this is good, just a visual of what the differences are and what the impacts would be to businesses that want to apply. The top is what our current rates are, the 30 cents and 60 and 90 cents per square foot, and these are just some assumed square footages based on the application. So 500 square foot for no liquor would be $150 a month. With the new lease rates, that same scenario would result in a $290 per square foot per month rate. And then the difference is about $140 per square foot per month. Next slide, please. Okay. And
I'm gonna put a pause button on Walk on Wilshire.
Okay.
So I'm gonna advise the council that we take the first two recommendations separately from the third, and again, to try and gain some efficiency here. So if we have some discussion matters on 1 and 2, if we can update the council, Stephen, on 1 and 2, if there's a recommendation at the end or anything that you need us to know before we discuss number 3 separately.
Yeah, I think we've tackled one at a time. So the first item would be to approve the standard outdoor dining guidelines and grant staff administrative approval of minor changes moving forward. So that's really just the guidelines. So updating in 2012 to the current and removing those changes that we talked about. So that's one.
All right. Any questions or concerns about number 1? Sir?
Public comment, perhaps?
No, we'll get to public comment in a second. Yes, Councilmember Silva.
Yeah, I've got a question. I'm not sure if it's number 1 or number 2, but on one of your slides where you showed parking district 1 and 2, and I think this is kind of what Mr. Zara may have been asking or connecting. It says that requires leases to pay the lost revenue in area with the paid parking program. So if a business is going to put up their dining area over parking, and are we back to charging for parking in the evenings? I know we had stopped it during the pandemic. Are we charging now after 6, right?
That is correct.
After 9, okay, yeah.
After 9, and that's only Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
Right, all right. So if someone takes over 20 parking spaces, they're responsible to pay what we would have gotten for those parking spaces? Is that what this is saying?
Yes, that's what this, yeah. And I think it comes to about $60 per space, per month. I think that's about right. Because it's only for, you don't have to pay Thursday through Saturday, I believe. And
right,
it's
okay.
like a $5 charge or something.
Right, okay. And then are we also, and I know this may be, I don't know if this applies here, but are we also encouraging them to ask their employees to park offsite so we can leave the remaining parking that's near the restaurants for patrons? I mean, is that part of it? Are we encouraging that? Because I know that's been the case sometimes where we have the employees park right next to the restaurant and then the people that are going to eat are circling the parking lot.
For those employees that get employee parking, there's certain areas where they can park, and that is away from the desired retail locations.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Councilmember Dunlap, anything on 1 and 2 action, sir?
It appears Councilmember Dunlap has left the meeting.
All right.
Yeah, he's so advised, but I should have said earlier, he has left the meeting.
It's no problem. Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, anything, sir, on 1 and 2?
No, not at this stage.
All right, very good. We'll hear public comments on 1 and 2. We'll take the walk on Wilshire separately for those that would like to do that. So is there anybody in chambers wishing to comment on items 1 and 2? Recommendations? Okay. While he walks up, let's see if there's anyone in Zoom.
No hands raised in Zoom.
Very good. Sir, good evening.
Good evening. Jack Franklin, 32 years in Fullerton, Heroes. Yeah, I think you guys all know me. First off, I want to thank Kelly through the whole pandemic getting me involved in that parking lot. It wasn't for us using that parking lot, who knows what would have happened. And so thank goodness that she pretty much talked me into it, because I figured I would just ride out Roscoe's patio and sticks. That's a private patio. I'm curious. I'm interested. We've talked about that property next door to my unit for years, way before the pandemic, about doing something possibly there. The only thing I see in this is I understand now that you're charging for parking and you're getting that revenue in, is prior to that, leasing out public sidewalks for patio was a lot more reasonable for the restaurant or the business owner. You're looking at $1.71 a foot. In the real world, most retail businesses, you're paying from the studs in only, especially obviously on private property. So it's a little pricey there. And at the same time is that I think you got to look at what the overall project is doing for the overall downtown, like Wilshire. Me personally, I think Wilshire should be blocked off just like it is right now. Obviously, make it a little more friendly user, a little more, inviting. And I think going down the street to Amridge on the opposite side of the street should be done the same way. Even though there's not a lot of retail business there, but it might invite more people there. Because the more you go through these other communities, we've learned a lot from the pandemic. And these communities have learned a lot. You got downtown Laguna Beach. That whole main section, they went 3 years straight. They're gonna run a 3-year pilot and see what happens. I have a friend that has a business down there. He's a jeweler, and he said this is the best thing that's ever happened to us. Even though there's no parking in front of my stores, it's created that foot traffic. And so I think you guys might want to take that into consideration also of what it's going to do to the downtown. We got a lot of competition going on right now, not in our community, but in other communities. What Orange has turned into, it's unbelievable. And, we've slowed down in this community, not just because of the pandemic. We've been looking at closing Heroes prior to that because the lunch trade has just gone downhill. And that's because we've lost a lot of big businesses. But somehow we got to attract more people back here with the foot traffic. I think we're going in the right direction. We got that project right next door going on with me. It looks awesome. I think on the corner of Harbor and Commonwealth, that whole project's looking very nice, but we still have vacant buildings. So I think you guys got to massage this a little bit, and maybe we do something
Thank
like
you,
a
sir.
tier
Thank you.
where you tier up the prices.
Thank
But
you.
other than that, thank you guys for everything
Thank
for
you.
the last couple of years.
Okay. I will seek a motion for items 1 and 2 if there's will on the council to do that. We'll again discuss item 3 separately.
I'll move the 1 and 2.
Thank you.
Well, actually, sorry, before you go any further, so 2 probably needs a little bit more clarification. So we do have 2 recommendations. It's an or here. So
Okay.
it's.
So let's just do 1.
Yeah,
We'll take 1 at a time. Is there a motion to recommend and approve and move forward with 1?
And that's just the new guidelines and
That's
pricing, right? The new, right.
That's just the guidelines, not the lease rates.
Not the lease rates. Okay, so I'll move 1 then.
Second.
Very good. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Silva,
Aye.
Councilmember Zara,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Whitaker,
Aye.
Mayor Jung,
Aye.
and Councilmember Dunlap is now absent.
All right. And number 2 now, please.
Right, and
Thank
because
you.
of what just happened, we do need to affirm that either because now those current rates which were adopted with 2012 are no longer relevant. So we either need to pass a resolution affirming the existing rates which were established in 2012, or accept the new rates that we presented today. So
All
it's-
right, very well. So obviously, we took the vote, so I'll ask the same council member that made the motion to go ahead and move this forward.
I'll move to adopt the new rates.
Thank you. Councilman Zara, would you like the second, sir?
Yes.
All right, very well. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember-
I'm sorry.
Oh.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem,
I was
is there a
just going to
comment?
say, I'd prefer to tread a little bit more lightly on those charges. They can always be adjusted upward later. But I heard what Mr. Franklin said. I believe he has some valid points in terms of our downtown competing with adjacent areas and even more remote areas. So I'd prefer to see a lighter touch on that.
Understood, sir. All right, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Silva,
Aye.
Councilmember Zara,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Whitaker,
No.
and Mayor Jung.
Aye.
Passes 3-1.
Okay, now the third item. If you'd be kind enough to continue on with your presentation.
Absolutely. Okay, Walk on Wilshire. So Walk on Wilshire temporary outdoor dining program was extended by council in the March meeting to the end of September 30th, regardless if they, applied for standard or not, because we don't really know what the direction of council will be at that time or currently. As part of the action, we did get some direction to install a bike element, which is basically reactivating the bike boulevard within that segment, which provided a barrier going down the middle of the segment, the WOW segment, and which was a recommendation from our Active Transportation Committee. The pilot bike facility utilizes barriers due to the temporary nature of the program, which terminates in the end of September, and the ability to store and reuse the equipment for city operations. Due to the minimal use of the cycling community and aesthetic impact, the pilot staff recommends removal of that element or that facility. The bike element will be revisited when the City Council considers the future of Walk on Wilshire program at an upcoming council meeting.
Very good, thank you. Before we go to questions on council, a couple of things. So when we remove the pilot bike lane, this orange monstrosity that we have in the middle of our Wilshire Boulevard, are we then replacing it with what? Do we know that yet, or is that still a question mark?
Right now, it's just recommendation to remove it.
Okay.
And then it will be revisited once we know the long-term decision.
Revisited to whom? Back to us? I'd like this to go through the Active Transportation Committee.
It'll go back to Active Transportation Committee. I think depending on the future long-term decision on Walk on Wilshire, we'll do a much more thorough outreach program with renderings to get, input from the community, the businesses, get input from the Active Transportation Committee, as well as the Transportation and Circulation Commission. Then it'll ultimately come to you with probably a few options to consider. So we're not abandoning the bike facility in this segment on long term at all. That's not the intent here. It's just the pilot program and what the materials were used are not really, ideal for now, for the temporary setting.
Very good. I'm sure there's members of council that wish to make comment. We'll start with Councilmember Zara. Any comments, sir?
No, I think the whole community agrees that the orange barriers need to go.
Well said.
So I'm happy that they would be. Obviously, we do need to make sure that we accommodate in any future plans the bike lane, and I'm glad it'll go back to active transportation because I think that is the appropriate place to have those discussions. But in general, I said it before and I'll say it again. I think this needs to be a closure because the community has found this to be a very pleasant and inviting experience, and I think that's the direction that I would like to go to.
All right, very good. Councilmember Silva.
Yeah, did you say there was 9 restaurants in that area that want to dine outside? They want to put dining outside? I think there was a number 9 thrown out there.
That was total of affidavits expressing interest to continue or to go to the standard setup. I think on Walk on Wilshire there was all 6. I think we reached out to 6 and they all expressed interest.
All right, because Jack was gone now, but I think back then I did want to see an option to permanently close it, but leave the bike lane obviously, so that we're not having to create it, take it down, put it back up. I know we have an agreement to keep it up until September 30th. But when you come back, can there also be an option, a look at what would it be like if we permanently closed that street there, but left the bike lane, constructed a bike lane? I like to see that option because I think we are. I think this pandemic allowed us to discover what the Europeans have known. The alfresco dining is great. So if we could do that, just to see what it will look like with the permanently closed street.
We can. I think, I recommend maybe we come up with, or we get council's direction on what you want to do long term, and then we could do a more robust presentation on options. Because if the council's decision is to go seasonal or to remove it, it's something that we'd want to have more time to prepare, and then to have some merit to it. So we could definitely do that, but it's something we'd want to have more time to do outreach for, to provide those options that were already vetted through the community before it comes to you for any kind of decision. But we could definitely do something like a preliminary mock-up or rendering of something permanent. We can do that.
So is there a will of the council to bring that back?
Well, why don't we discuss that in September, sir, when this expires, or thereabouts? We're a little early right now.
So there's no will then right now?
Not right
Okay.
now, sir.
Well,
Okay.
I'm just asking the other two over there.
If I may, I am in favor of that. I'm in favor of early planning rather than wait in September. I think we should make a decision now so that staff can have the time to plan and also do the outreach. And I want to add that even though there are 9 businesses that are interested in participating in this particular program on Wilshire, I've talked to a lot of businesses that may not be participating but will benefit from the foot traffic. And throughout Harbor, people are excited about this because it attracts people whether they're going to be dining in that particular spot or not. So it attracts people in general, and that benefits the entire downtown.
Very well. Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, what say you, sir?
I'm in agreement with Councilmember Zara on this in large part because a lot of the effort over the last few decades has been to preserve the historic nature of the downtown, basically the bones of it. And the best way to do that at this stage would be a promenade or walk mall kind of concept, because that ability for people to frequent all the businesses here, restaurants and otherwise, and to be exposed to them is greatly enhanced by that. I believe it's a competitive advantage for businesses downtown to have that capability because other cities are doing that. It makes it walkable eminently and reduces traffic in the core downtown area. I just see so many benefits from it that I've solidly been on that side of it. I do have a couple questions though. The fluorescent orange K-rails, those were purchased particularly for this project?
A portion of them were. We had some on hand at our yard, so we purchased what we needed to supplement what we already had in order to deploy what's out there today.
They appear to be fairly expensive. Was it a very large investment, and where did the funds come from?
Part of the council decision at the March meeting was we assumed it would be up to $25,000 to deploy the bike element. I think out of that it was just about $18,000 purchasing the barriers, which was an increased cost from what we purchased the barriers previously just because costs are going up for everything.
Yeah, that's a lower cost than I kind of anticipated, but even storage and handling is another additional cost so much. Yeah, I'd be very happy to see those removed, and I think that this trial period, this was intended to be a trial, that the test showed that there was minimal, if any, cyclist use through there. I've even spoken with cyclists who don't ride through there at all. So I think we need to look at that as the experiment and say it was a flop. It was an absolute flop. Not to blame anyone, but to say let's discontinue that. And I'm not sure then with the walk mall concept whether we need some sort of a corridor through there for bicycle riders because they aren't using it. They aren't riding through there. But that's where I land.
All right, very well, sir. We'll now seek public comment on this matter. If there's any members of the public that wish to comment on number 3, please come forth. To my right, your left. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council members. My name's Leslie Mortar. I was born and raised in Fullerton, and for the past 15 years, I've run the Rialto Cafe on Wilshire. And to kind of echo what Mr. Franklin said, I don't know that we would have made it through the pandemic without the program, so I'm incredibly thankful for that. And obviously, I have a vested interest as far as all the benefits that everybody's brought up for our small businesses. But I think that something we're also getting at is that the Walk on Wilshire has become so much more than just our outdoor dining as a crutch for our restaurants. It allows people who come to that area. It creates an emotional response to the city, and that's kind of one thing that is. I just think it will be a huge benefit for the city moving forward. And I've witnessed and personally had experiences where I've run into people that I know from Fullerton that I haven't seen in years, like old elementary school classmates, my dentist, friends' parents, and we've sat and had conversations looking at the historical buildings outside, and it's really an emotional connection to the city that I think we should be considering when you're trying to make the decision moving forward. And I think I've also had the unique perspective. I feel like as the business owner, we're in a little bit of limbo as far as the barriers go with, staff has been amazing working with us. I think that if we had a little bit more of a direction, knowing whether it's going to be shut down in September or if there's some intention to move forward, I know collectively a lot of the business owners on Wilshire would love to help come up with some ideas to make it really beautiful and just make it a continued asset for the city, going forward when the restaurant and myself are long gone. I love the city of Fullerton, and I think it would be a great thing to close it down and create that experience for everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Milton, good evening.
I forgot I was. Good evening again. I was just curious, and I've been wondering ever since this situation came about. Did anybody do a traffic study before the bicycle barriers went up? As I say, everybody knows my feeling on this 180 feet, but was there a traffic study done to find out how many bicycles do go up and down this lane in a business hour or a business day period? So that's what I was curious about. And did anybody that drove down Wilshire at any time complain to anybody in the city that it has been blocked off? That's another question. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Good evening, sir.
Evening. I'm Vince Buck, and I'm on the Active Transportation Committee, and I'm here to speak for the bike route. It never should have been closed. There was no need to close it. It could have been designed at the time to keep the bike lane there and have the outdoor dining. There was no discussion, did not come to the Active Transportation Committee. It was just done. So a short while ago, it was reopened. That was a move in the right direction. Unfortunately, it was opened with these big barriers. The council member has just spoken to the lack of use. I will not use it. It's almost invisible. One reason people don't use it, they don't know it's open. How would they know it's open? The barriers that are there. And I think the objections that people have to these barriers are not just these barriers, but the end barriers as well, which are just, they're brutal. Bicycle riders don't know it's open. It's dangerous. It does not feel safe just looking at it from here. It does not feel safe. It may be, but it does not feel safe. And to get onto it, especially from the western end, you have to make a U-turn and then another 45-degree angle turn to get onto it, and at low speeds. And if someone is walking through there, it's not safe. So, but that's not the point. Everyone agrees that this has to go. Almost everyone that I've heard, except for the mayor that spoke last time, former mayor that spoke last time, Councilman Whitaker and Maureen, think it should be redesigned and a bike lane should go in there. It can be done. I've sent all of you the pictures of Santa Barbara, and it shows how they do it in a design that's probably considerably cheaper than $18,000, and for a length of a mile, and using planters, using box shrubs, using bollards. It can be done, and it can be done well. It can be done inviting, and everyone benefits from it. This is not just 180 yards or whatever it is. It is part of a planned regional bike trail. There's a 4th District Bikeway study that would have this as a center of connecting from Coyote Creek to the Santa Ana River Trail using Acacia and La Palma and Anaheim in that end. This is the heart of it. If I'm not mistaken, on the consent calendar passed on item 12, the active transportation plan. This is the core of the active transportation plan. This is the one safe route, in my opinion, to get to the downtown area. And this is the core of that 2-mile route. So I think it's important that it go back in. It's important to the city. It's important to the vitality of downtown. And bicycles, when it's backed into a safe, attractive manner, bicycles will use it.
Thank you, sir. All right, we'll bring this back to council. Obviously, there seems to be direction.
We have one caller on Zoom still.
Oh, I'm sorry. The Zoom caller, please.
Jane Reifer, and I promise I won't cut you off this time.
Ms. Reifer, good evening.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yes, everyone agrees that this was not the optimum implementation of the bike lane. I am concerned, though, as it gets removed, is there a way to still sort of maintain the street blockage so that motorists don't get used to coming onto Wilshire again and then complain when it is again removed, should it again be removed? In other words, is there a way to say coming soon, better bike lane and dining, or something that would indicate to the public that this project is not completely over with? I hope I'm making sense with what I'm getting at here. This needs to be removed, but in order to ever close the street again, we shouldn't completely remove the closure. So maybe that can be discussed, and thank you.
Thank you. So, again, I believe you have majority of the council members here that would like to continue on with this program. You have direction with regards to coming up with some sort of advanced look through or look at, in this case. And I believe everybody agrees that it needs to go through the Active Transportation Committee. That said, I've been very vocal about this, and my objection to it is purely based on principle, the fact that I don't believe public right-of-ways or public streets, public sidewalks, public parking lots should be utilized to the benefit of private businesses. But that said, I think I'm in absolute agreement that this orange monstrosity has to go. The quicker the better. So I will be seeking a motion from council to move forward with this, and I think staff has direction.
So we're coming back with the concept for permanent closure with the bike lane. What does it look like? August, September? Just so we can kind of have, yeah.
I'm thinking probably August.
August, okay.
There you go, sir.
All right,
August.
perfect. So then,
Is there a second? There's a
I'll
motion.
second.
Okay.
Very well. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Silva?
yes.
Councilmember Zara?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Whitaker?
Aye.
And Mayor Jung?
No.
Passes 3-1.
The last item, I'm going to seek advice from council to continue this item.
Let's continue.
Very well. Is there a second? I'll give the second. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Silva?
Yes.
Councilmember Zara?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Whitaker?
Aye.
Mayor Jung?
Aye. And there was one question from the resident that did not make a public comment during the consent calendar item. That is number 13. Can someone please advise the resident of his concerns about when that enforcement will conclude? Chief.
Yes, sir, we will. We're already on top of it.
All right. That said, folks, this concludes our meeting. The next scheduled meeting is July 5th. Happy 4th of July to everybody in between now and then. Same bad channel, same bad time, folks. Good night.